Commissioner Rucker,
Here.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Here.
Commissioner Turner,
Here.
Vice President Musich,
Present.
President DeBenny.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll note that I'll be appointing, or I am now appointing, all of the commissioners to the Administration and Finance Committee for this evening. With that, we have an agenda before us. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Second.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We have one set of minutes. Would somebody please move the minutes and read the date?
I'll move the regular meeting minutes of November 19th, 2025.
Second.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. With that, we have reports of officers, and I'll turn things over to the superintendent, Superintendent Bangura.
Thank you, President Benny and Commissioners. All right, let's get started. And again, this is always for the board purposes around our strategic directions and performance measures. And we have 5 of them, of course, and for those that are watching or in the audience, these are reflective of the board's direction and how we as an organization respond to it and the great work that we do with our staff every day in this organization. So we'll start with strategic direction A, act boldly for our climate future, the Graco Award. The Chicago Athenaeum Museum and Architecture and Design, together with the European Center for Architecture, Art Design, and Urban Studies and Metropolitan Arts Press, long title, organized the American Architecture Awards in 1994 as a way to honor the best new significant buildings and landscape projects designed and/or built in the United States and abroad by American and international architects. The American Architecture Awards gave an important overview of the current aesthetic direction of design work created or built in the United States. This year, the River Hub at Graco has been awarded an American Architecture Award in the Community Center category. Pretty exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah. Congratulations to the design team assembled to create the River Hub, including Snow Krylek Architects, Ani Fernandez Landscape Architecture, and Barr Engineering, and to MPRB's project team led by former senior planner Carrie Christensen and project manager John Deussman. Thanks to the Graco Foundation for its support in the creation of Graco Park and the River Hub. Amazing award. Congratulations to, of course, the whole plan team. You guys are fantastic. Strategic direction B, cultivate each community's place and honor cultural traditions in Minneapolis parks. Bear with me on this one, it's a long one. Cedar Field 2025. Cedar Field Park will be getting an exciting improvement soon, and the planning and forestry departments are partnering to provide quality plan that will create a welcoming and useful park space for the East Phillips community. As part of the project, planning and forestry will be getting input for several aspects from the adjacent Native American community, including the tree planting, pallet, and playground equipment. On November 6th, Planning and Forestry hosted a community engagement meeting for this project at Cedar Field Park. The first meeting was to introduce the project and get input from the community on which existing trees in the park are culturally, historically, and/or environmentally significant, in a concerted effort to keep those trees during the construction process, if possible. It also gathered input on several playground options. Great care was taken in planning for the meeting to ensure that the community felt welcome, their culture and traditions respected, and their voices heard. Planning and Forestry worked with Carrie Day Aspinwall, the MPRB's Indigenous liaison, to help plan the event and communications with focus given to aspects that are important when engaging an Indigenous American community, to invite elders and to invite respected leaders in the Native community. As such, a traditional prayer and tobacco offering was given by the Anishinaabe medicine man, Fred Gisjarlet. A communal fire, propane heater, blankets, and tents were also set up to keep elders comfortable in a chilly autumn weather. Hot soup and fried bread were served from Powwow Grounds Coffee. Forestry Outreach Coordinator Danielle Schumerth and Forestry Preservation Coordinator Greg Pincala were on hand to assist in participants in placing ribbons on trees that were significant to them and to answer any questions about trees. 2 different colors of ribbon were used, with each color signifying a different reason why a tree was important. Teal for cultural reasons, silver for personal reasons. Planning staff consisting of Emma Pachuta, senior planner, Carol Haushorn, design project manager, and research assistant Megan and Elizabeth helped to facilitate the meeting and engage participants in project planning discussion while asking for input on playground materials, colors, and design. This meeting was deeply meaningful to NPRB staff. It is important for both planning and forestry to connect with community that will be using this space. Community input creates inclusive and thoughtful design. The goal of this project is to create a space for and with community, and this first meeting was a big step in that process. More community meetings will take place in the future and will focus on different aspects of the project design. Stay tuned. That was long, but important work, so thank you. Strategic Direction C, implement quality youth and intergenerational programs, youth program registration update. The youth volleyball season wraps up with the postseason tournament December 15th to the 20th at various recreation centers. If you have a chance to go, I would really encourage it. It's really amazing. So I'm inviting any commissioner that would show up. That'd be great. The season has been a great success with 544 kids participating. Registration for winter 2026 youth sports closed on Monday, December 1st. So far, we have almost 2,000 youth registered for basketball, 243 for youth hockey, and 165 for wrestling. The Winter Youth Sports League begins in January on the following days: youth hockey and wrestling, January 10th, youth basketball, January 17th. Strategic Direction D, care for park assets to meet evolving needs and practices. Copper pipes. It's exciting, right? You're talking about copper pipes, but it's important. Plumbers Bob Ziegel and Joe Barnes recently repiped the copper piping in the pool equipment room at Hiawatha School. The old piping had oxidized and was green from all the chemicals in the air and no exhaust system. A new exhaust fan installed by the fitters will now eliminate the chemicals in the air, and the piping should stay in good condition now. It seems simple but very important, so thank you to our incredible trades and those folks. They do amazing work. Strategic Direction E, steward our natural resources. Prescribed burning. This fall, NPRB Natural Resources staff conducted 4 prescribed burns on NPRB's natural areas, with several more planned if the snow holds off and proper conditions persist through early winter. Prescribed fire is a tool used in the management of prairies, savannas, and woodlands. Prescribed burns are useful in preventing the establishment of scrubby trees and invasive species that invade prairies, savannas, and woodlands. Native prairie and woodland species thrive the season after a prescribed burn due to the increased availability of nutrients as well as the increase in sunlight on the soil, which stimulates germination. Each prescribed burn is conducted under a specific prescription, which outlines the environmental and weather conditions required to safely and effectively execute the burn. Burn plans are approved and permits are acquired from both the Minnesota DNR as well as the City of Minneapolis Fire Inspection. Each prescribed fire is conducted on the reoccurring cycle that is optional for the health of native plant community. I do have one other thing that I just thought about today that I wanted to update the board on. I'm not sure if you, well, we're all aware of the immigration issues that's happening here in Minneapolis. That's coming from, I know, from the White House and what's happening within Minneapolis. But I want to make sure that this board knows how serious this is for this organization and the attention that we are paying attention to it, myself, our executive team, and our staff. Today we had an important meeting here at headquarters. All of our recreation team was here. Everyone that works out in the field, whether they're youth specialists or the rec supervisors, athletics, were all here in the building. Myself and Jason Ohado spoke to all of our staff. And I'd like to thank, of course, Interim Director Newman Thomas, who was also standing with us here as we spoke to our staff. We know that they're out there every day, and they're dealing with some very difficult situations, as we know it's happening right now in Minneapolis, or we believe it's happening. What is important to know, and what we shared with them, Jason, our Chief Ohado, did a fantastic job of explaining sort of the federal laws and what is required and what authority the federal government does have in these things. But we wanted to make sure that we communicated with our staff and informed them, not only as an organization, but also that our board is aware, that we are aware and working very hard to make sure that we communicate. Sometimes there's a lot of information that goes out there that's not true. Sometimes there's misinformation, there's disinformation. But more importantly, information that our staff can respond to the needs of the community and the concerns of the community. When things do occur in our parks, in our parking lots, the first thing the community does is they go to our staff and they ask the question. So it's important for us to communicate with our staff and to share with them as much as we can, that we know the information that we have with them to make sure that they're informed. That's the most important thing. Yesterday I did contact Council Rice, and Council Rice, I asked him to speak to the city attorney. He actually said, what do you think about speaking to the city attorney? I said, absolutely. So he did meet with the city attorney. We are also meeting tomorrow to talk further, to get specific information and to share with this board and with our organization as a whole. So we are working on this. I think the most important thing, I did talk to Robin Smothers, our Director of Marketing Communication, as we're going to continue to reach out to our staff and to our community and to this board so that you're aware of not only what is happening on our organization, how we're responding, and we also look forward to our board as we communicate to any direction that you would like for us to do and to share with us. But I wanted to make sure that this board knows that we take this is foremost important to me and to this organization and to our staff. They're on the front lines every day, and it is challenging. And we know that we are providing services for our community. Our staff that are out there every day, we told them that you are important because you are the touch point for community. You are important because you're the mentors, you're providing services, you're connecting to kids, you're connecting to parents and communities. And so that's why it is so important that they're there every day and being a part of the community in this challenge. So we are connected and we are supportive of our community and our neighbors. With that, President Benny and Commissioners, I turn this back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that report. Are there questions for the superintendent regarding his report? Commissioner Mentz.
Thank you, President Benny. I do have a question, Superintendent Bangura, about that, since you brought that up around the immigration concerns. I'm going to ask a direct question about ICE and what legality they have in coming into buildings or land. So ICE would not need a warrant to come onto our land, but they would need a warrant to come into our buildings. Is that correct?
President Benny and Commissioner Menz, they can come into a building if it's a public building, meaning it's public open, it's open to the public. So federal agents can approach and go into any public space. There is questions on whether or not if in the building there is a secure place that's in the building that are not open to general public, potentially there might need to be a warrant for that. I'm not an expert in law, but I do know that if a building is open and it is open during building hours for public, federal agents can come into that building. Was there a second part to that question? I apologize.
No.
And I know that I have Council Rice here and also
No, I
Chief
do have a
Otto.
follow-up question for Council Rice. So what prevents this body as a land-holding separate institution from initiating any sort of protective status of the land that we control? So in thinking about us as an independent body, and this is something that the board, I know we have a lot to talk about, but this was brought up and this is a very important issue in the city right now, and people don't know how to stay safe. So what is the where does the law of federal law come into play when people are trying to be removed from MPRB land?
Yeah, Council Rice, I think if you would address that, and then I think we should maybe, we can have, I think that would be, we're going a little far afield. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, Madam President, we understand this is a very serious matter. I did talk to the Deputy City Attorney last night. He was very kind. We had a meeting today, Ann Welther and I, at noon. They provided us a bunch of information that I brought. But we have a federal government, and the federal government, under the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution, has issues like immigration, which their laws, for lack of a better word, are paramount. The park board is a unique body in the sense that we have 7,000 acres. About 5,000 of that acres is land. It's open to the public. Any person has a right to be on that property. The protections against illegal search and seizure do not apply on public land. They apply on private land. As a governmental entity, we do have the ability of closing certain parts of our buildings that are essential to core functions. Parts of this building, for example, our maintenance yards, facilities like that, to people where they don't have an absolute right to go on that property. But absent those ones, it would be very difficult. We're examining that. We're going to meet with the superintendent tomorrow on that and see what options are there. The city has looked at a number of these issues. They don't have the same breadth of property that we do in terms of public spaces. But for a large measure, I would say we're going to look very seriously to see what we can do in that area. But and I would say this: the city of Minneapolis is not yet, but the federal government has sued, quote unquote, the city of Minneapolis and St. Paul. They haven't actually perfected service on Minneapolis. They sued the state. At this point, the park board's not party to those litigations that the federal government has brought, where they're challenging some of their the ordinances. I've got it in the file. The ordinance that take protective measures for immigrant status, but the federal government's already challenging efforts that St. Paul, Minneapolis, and other cities have done throughout the country to secure things. So it's under review, and we'll be meeting tomorrow with the superintendent on it.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks for answering my questions. This is a really important issue. So I'm just very concerned about how we proceed and what the legalities are and where we can utilize and exert our control, our local control in response to federal authorities, because we don't know where this is going, and the people who are going to be elected on this board and any person elected in this country needs to start thinking about how we create places for refugees and things like that that are in a different way. Because our president is stupid.
Yeah, thank you. And I just appreciate the report, and I actually appreciate just a little background on what proactive measures you're taking with the organization. Thank you very much, Superintendent. And with that, I'm going to move ahead to reports of appointees to outside boards, commissions, or committees, and Vice President Musich has her light on.
Thank you, President Benny. As a member of the Joint Endowment Committee, I'll be reporting out on behalf of Commissioner Rucker and myself. We did come up with 5-year goals. For those of you that read the packets, you already read this. For those of you that don't, we've set a goal of $6 million for the next 5 years as our goal. The reason it's $6 million is because I'm pleased to report to you that we already have a $1 million commitment in someone's estate planning. So rather than going with a $5 million goal and saying we want to try to get $1 million a year pledged either via cash pledges or letters of intent, we made it 6. Since we'd already nailed down that million. So it's a big goal. I'm very hopeful that it's something that's achievable. For those of you that like myself, are hanging up your hat and no longer seeking elected office at the park board in the future, I would recommend you consider giving what's ever left in your campaign accounts to the endowment. That's what I did with my remaining campaign funds. You're able to donate to charity after you close out, if it's the last thing you're doing with your account. So if you want more information about that, let me know. Happy to chat with you about it. It was not difficult. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports? All right. Well, I'd like to go ahead and then move to the consent agenda. Would somebody please, before we move the consent agenda, does anybody have an item they'd like to pull? Commissioner Rucker.
Yeah, I would like to pull Resolution 2025-266.
Okay. Any other items to be pulled? Okay, will somebody move the remaining items?
I will move the consent agenda as a slate.
Second.
Is there discussion? Okay, seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the consent items, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Will somebody move the pulled item?
All right, I'll move to pull the item. I want to move Resolution 2025-266. Resolution recognizing and thanking Derek Robinson, affectionately known as D-Rob, for his dedication, service, and leadership as a founder of the Ed Solomon Green Machine Football and Cheerleading Camp and a longtime volunteer coach with the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board's Youth Sports Program.
Second.
Okay, before there's discussion from the commissioners, I'd ask Director Hernandez to come up. Okay.
President Abeni, Commissioners, I am pleased to introduce Rachel Hoban, Recreation Supervisor at McCray Recreation Center, who nominated Derek Robinson for the Living the Dream Award and has played a key role in honoring Derek's remarkable legacy. Rachel will share a few words and then introduce a video tribute that reflects Derek's impact and contributions. Rachel?
Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. Before I say anything, I just wanted to acknowledge the Robinson family and friends that are here tonight and thank them for coming, and also thank those people watching online tonight because he has many wonderful friends and family who are joining us from afar. I feel lucky to have known Derek Robinson. The love and care that has been shown to thousands of youth over the years is immeasurable, and often I find that words cannot come close to describing the in-person experience of the football and cheerleading camps. We miss Derek, and we are thankful for the time shared at McCray Park. Derek's legacy will live on this summer as the Robinson family and friends host the 2026 camps this July 9th through the 11th. These camps are special, and I invite each of you to join us this summer to see the many wonderful things that each of these people participate in during these camps. Thank you for the memories, Derek. Thank you for making McCray Park a part of your team. Thank you, Nidra, Willie, Amber, Derek Jr., Aaron, Kedrick, Katie, and the many friends and family that show up year after year. To the commissioners that may not have had the opportunity to know Derek, I hope this video shows you a window into the special person that Derek Robinson was, and may we all carry his memory and his joy for the youth in Minneapolis into the work we do here at our parks. I don't know how to do this part, sorry.
It's okay.
Thanks, Leah.
The question is not if I stop to help this man in need, what will happen to me? The question is, if I do not stop to help, what will happen to them? That's the question. After you listen, what happens then? You learn, right? And then after you learn everything, what do? You lead, all right? Let's keep moving. The difference from any other camp is that it's 3 days. You can't get much done in one day, 2-3 hours, you know, and you can't be as intimate with the kids, you know, and personal with the kids if you only have one day. I get to remember all 150 of these kids, you know, the names. These kids get to interact with each other this way, the real way, you know.
We're starting to get some of the kids back, you know, as adults who started this program when they were 10 years old, now they're 27. And to see their kids here, they to say that they were at this camp, you know, that's really the highlight. To see kids grow up, kids who were babies and infants, who are now past teenagers or graduating from high school, who've gone on to play in college in some cases. You know, that's really the excitement about this, that they started here at this camp or playing Minneapolis Park Board football, and now they're going on, and one day they'll be doing their own camp.
I've been in the camp. I've been at the older group where I was leading it, and now I'm coaching and leading exercises. So it's a crazy journey. I'm just happy to be a part of this, you know, and I love that it's family owned. The culture at McCray Park is always amazing, and it just keeps everybody together. So I'm just happy to be a part of it, you know. Coach Rob, if you're watching, that hill over there, I'm still mad at you for it. Go!
Let's go, get there, please.
Hustle,
Pump them
hustle.
arms.
Pump them
Pump them
arms.
arms.
Go.
Bear crawl, bear crawl.
Bear crawl, let's get there.
This is my first year. It has been amazing because all the coaches have been teaching me different stuff to make me a better football player. Then I bet one day I'll be in the NFL.
We get to try new things like running hills, bear crawls up the hills, and a lot of other stuff.
This is actually my first time doing it. It's pretty good. It's like a lot of fun stuff that you can really do. We did Simon Says, and we did jumping jacks, and we did bunny hops. When I did Simon Says, I messed up a couple of times, but nobody saw me. If you really like football, it's a great program. I can't even lie. If you sign up for this, it's not a mistake. I promise you that.
It's free, and we feed them. What else can you ask for? You know? It's great, man. It's good, man. That's the difference. That's the difference. All three together. 1, 2, 3.
Opioid addiction gets between you and what you love.
Thank you. So before I open the floor to discussion, I saw that video at the Martin Luther King event last January and met Derek Robinson, only briefly, but I was happy to have met him. So I'll read the resolution in full. This is Resolution 2025-266, a resolution recognizing and thanking Derek Robinson for his dedication, service, and leadership as founder of the Ed Solomon Green Machine, football and cheerleading camp, and longtime volunteer coach with the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board's youth sports program. Whereas Derek Robinson has demonstrated exceptional leadership and commitment to youth across Minneapolis by founding and leading the Ed Solomon Green Machine football and cheerleading camp, a program that has inspired young athletes, strengthened teamwork, and provided a welcoming space for youth to develop both athletic and life skills. Whereas Derek Robinson has generously volunteered countless hours over many years as a youth football coach, sharing his talents, passion, and expertise to help young people build confidence, discipline, and character on and off the field, emphasizing his core principles known as the 3 A's: awareness, adversity, and attitude as a pathway to greatness. Whereas for nearly 20 years, Derek Robinson, alongside his team of friends and family, built an extraordinary camp and community where individuals from diverse backgrounds formed lasting friendships and celebrated the talents and potential of young people. Whereas through his leadership, mentorship, and unwavering dedication, Derek Robinson has made a lasting impact on youth, families, and the community, particularly at McCray Recreation Center where he served, enriching the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board's youth sports programs. Whereas in January 2025, Derek Robinson was honored with the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board's Living the Dream Award. The award recognized Robinson for his work that embodied Dr. Martin Luther King's message of justice for all while contributing to the Minneapolis park system. Resolved that the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board formally recognizes and thanks Derek Robinson for his years of service, leadership in developing the Ed Solomon Green Machine football and cheerleading camp, and longtime volunteer coach with the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board's youth sports program. And resolved that the president of the board and secretary of the board are authorized to take all necessary administrative actions to implement this resolution. So with that, I will open it up to the floor for discussion, and then we'll present this to the family. I think Commissioner Rucker, please.
All right. Well, me and the Johnson family go way back. I used to go to high school with Robin at Minneapolis Central. So I was at their house a lot, and Mrs. Johnson is sitting right there, used to kick us out all the time because we were making too much noise. So with his legacy with the Green Machine, it goes all the way back to his grandfather, Doc J. He started that name with Green Machine, and we carried it through with Kedrick Williams. He was a coach at McRae. And then the thing about it with Derek, he could have had this camp anywhere. He could have had it at Iowa, where he played college football. He could have had it in San Diego when he played professionally. But he brought it back home because that's what was instilled in him as, their family. The family is about community. So he brought it back to Minneapolis. And it sounds like it's going to continue. The legacy is going to continue. Just to give you a story, with my youngest son, real good football player. I had, most of my kids played college football. So my youngest was highly recruited, man, over, 20-some offers, scholarship offers. Iowa was one of them. And, my son was up in the air until, where he was going to go. And then we got a call from D-Rob. So they threw in the big dogs. They knew the relationship that we had. So needless to say, my son was a Hawkeye, followed in behind D-Rob. But I just want to tell the family, you guys have been a pillar of this community for years. And you guys have been a pillar, for years. The legacy is continuing. I know, him and Doc J's up there talking football. I already know. And, I definitely will be there. And, we have other coaches that was there. Coach Talley, he was there as well. It wasn't just the South Side. Coach Talley came from North Commons, and he was over there as well. He embodied everybody, to give back to the kids, and that's what I want to do, hopefully get that amount of kids back into our football program in his honor. So I just want to tell the family, thank you for raising a great son, gentle giant, and we are continue his legacy.
Thank you, Commissioner Rucker. Vice President Musich.
Thank you, President Benny. I did not get the pleasure of growing up knowing Mr. Robinson, but I did have the pleasure of meeting him a number of times at McRae as we renovated the fields there, as he held this program. And the thing that I remember most, other than him telling me, oh, please don't call me Mr. Robinson, you can call me Derek, and just being a very approachable and kind human being, was when I asked what brought him to McRae, what made him feel like he needed to invest in the kids there. He told me that the park had made him who he was, and that the people of Minneapolis made him who he was, and that he had an obligation to pay that back, as long as he was able to do so. So it's a huge gift that he's given to a lot of people, and I'm so thankful that he's chosen to make that investment here in Minneapolis, and that all of you are helping to continue that legacy for him. So thank you for being here tonight, and for all that you do for the kids of Minneapolis, especially the ones that get to play at McRae.
Thank you. Okay. I just don't see any other lights, so we'll go ahead and vote on this resolution. It's a little weird, but we'll take a vote. All those in favor of this resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. And if the commissioners would,
Yep, I was gonna ask everybody to scooch in.
especially on the ends there. Okay. Everybody wants to look here for a couple photos. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll move to open time. We're 6 minutes late, which is not common for us to be late on this, but that was important. So, sorry. First, I'll read the open time rules. I will call on people from the speaker list only. Names are added to the speaker list by calling in before 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting or by adding it in person at the board meeting before 5:30 p.m. The time allotted for all speakers shall not exceed 15 minutes. We have 15 people, so I'm just going to go 1 minute per person. Time may not be transferred to somebody else, and please watch the timer and stay within your allotted time. The key is that this is an opportunity for you to address the board. We listen, but we don't respond. That said, please don't hesitate to contact any of the commissioners for dialogue and further discussion. To protect the privacy of individuals, please refrain from commenting on specific personnel issues or pending litigation. Discriminatory or harassing words directed at anyone will not be tolerated, and each speaker is asked to state their name and where they live. And I'll begin to call people. So William Munich, followed by Phyllis Roden. William Munich. Phyllis Roden, followed by Amber Frederick.
My name is Phyllis Roden. I am a Loring Park resident and a daily user of the park, and I am here this evening to speak on behalf of my fellow members of the Minneapolis block clubs to say that we support the amendments calling for the addition of a park police sergeant and a park police officer. Given the budget cuts, the reduced open hours of community centers, those lost eyes on the park need to be replaced by additional members of the park police. As the park system continues to grow, the park police force needs to grow along with it, especially with the addition of the Upper Harbor Park and the major events it will host. I was astounded to learn that there has been no significant increase in the park police sworn staffing over the past 25 years. The time to remedy that is now. There are 2 amendments with the same goal proposed for your consideration, showing the urgency of this issue. Please support the Schaefer and Turner amendments for the reassurance to the community of the Park Board's commitment to the safety of all we who use Minneapolis parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Amber Frederick, followed by Gary Dukes. Amber's not here. Okay. Gary Dukes, followed by Mark Schmidt.
The Barr engineering study from 2022 was clear. Lake Nokomis has a critical internal loading problem. The phosphorus in the sediment will keep causing toxic algae blooms forever unless we cap it. Alum is the engineering recommendation. Lake Nokomis has blue-green algae advisories again and again. This isn't just about clean water, it's about toxic water that endangers children. We cannot keep treating a major regional recreational lake as a health hazard. I am looking for confirmation that the grant match funding for Nokomis alum treatment is preserved in the 2026 Capital Improvement Plan. If we pause this funding now, we delay the lake's recovery. Can this board commit to prioritizing the state grant application for Nokomis in this upcoming cycle? The board has done great work on the shoreline. However, those improvements don't matter if the water touching the shoreline is toxic. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Schmidt, followed by Mitchell Clemens.
My name is Mark Schmidt. I'm the park steward working on the peninsula on the west side of Cedar Lake where the assault and kidnapping occurred. You're all aware of the details of that crime. I'm here to support Commissioner Schaefer's amendment to add 2 police officers. I'm also here to tell you what she did. She brought together asset management, forestry, natural resources, and the police department in a holistic approach to park safety. And I can't begin to tell you, and particularly the superintendent, the importance of making safety in our parks a system-wide effort. There's a program called Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design in Natural Areas that I think we should implement. I have a lot more to say, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mitchell, followed by Andrew Beeman.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm here to talk about, I live over northeast Minneapolis, 30th in California. I'm here to talk about the proposed cuts to the Parkkeeper Trainee Program. I was part of the first rendition of Parkkeeper Trainees and what benefits that bring to the Park Board itself. I have worked in over probably 95% of all of our parks, and that is the kind of experience you get when you go through this program. And the proposed cuts would further hurt the park keepers because you get training, and it's also more staff to help with the needs that we face, like safety. We pick up needles on a daily basis. With cutting positions, that makes the parks unsafe. I get trying to make the parks safer, but at what cost is what I want to say. So, thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Beeman, followed by Keith Glenn.
Hello, thank you. My name's Andrew Beeman. I am a Midtown Phillips resident, and I'm here to speak out against both resolutions. And so I understand the need with increased facilities and assets for the parks, and that is the argument put forth for the reasoning for both officers. But at the same time, how are we expanding our assets without also at least maintaining the number of available positions for park keepers? And so I think it is detrimental to reduce the capacity for staff to do things like maintain those parks, do things like pick up possibly dangerous needles and other objects, like Mitchell mentioned, while reducing the possible total staff load there. One of the amendments put forth sacrifices one-time dollars to essentially staff up those 2 officers, which are permanent occurring roles. That is just irresponsible budgeting. So it appears to be my time. Thank you.
Keith Glenn, followed by Gary Spears.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Keith Glenn. I'm a union representative for Local 363. And I want to piggyback on what Andrew and Mitchell Clendenin was speaking upon, is that we all can agree that we want our parks to be safer. But we also have our park keepers who are frontline workers every day, who have been doing this job for quite some time, even when short, as they are right now. And I'm asking that you all take that in consideration when putting this resolution forward or this on the agenda, because our young folks that work with my brother right here every day, including my own son in the community of Northside, who may one day want to take that trainee position. But if we take those jobs away, it won't be there for him. So I ask you guys to consider that.
Gary Spears, followed by Mike Tate.
Hi, Gary Spears. I'm a resident for Minneapolis here. I'm also a member of Crow Creek Dakota Nation. For the past 48 months, we've worked on removing the Sibley Park name. This May, we did remove it there, and it became 40th Street. As of October, I've been working with Carrie Day Aspinwall And then I worked with the Crow Creek chairman, which now the tribal government has joined in support for the Strong-Hearted Woman name. And so has Leonard Peltier joined into support, and many other people, Crow Creek members. The last meeting we had with Carrie and another employee, I forget her name, of the park board, it seemed like we couldn't come to an agreement whether we're gonna have Strong-Hearted Woman name, which we approve, or the bowl-shaped name that was named after the superintendent, Theodore Worth Park, or Theodore Worth. At that time, it seemed like we can't come to any type of agreement right now, but we're still strongly supporting strong-hearted women, and we asked for like 48 months to get this done. Please help us. Please help us finish this project.
Mike Tate, followed by Michelle Hemingway.
Mike Tate, North Minneapolis. I want to give thanks to each and every one of the 9 of you commissioners. There's been some long battles and some hard decisions made over the 4 years you've been here. And I want to congratulate you for getting through it and with an understanding of making things great for our children. North Commons was a big get, even though some didn't want it, but you did want it because you passed a $10 million bill to build it. So it worked both ways, you know, and I just want to say thank you. I will tell y'all that are leaving, don't leave like the rest of them, just don't come back because we need your input. Please continue to stay with us to build this community, this city park system, because you have great ideas, you just don't have the power anymore. So I ask you to stay with it. Don't give up. I ain't went nowhere, as I told you, and I ain't going nowhere. Thank you very much.
Michelle Hemingway, followed by Jeff Azen. We can't transfer time, so Jeff Hazen?
Got it in a minute. Thank you.
Are you Jeff?
My name is Jeff Azen. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak briefly. What I want to remind the board is that the city parks are of limited value if they're not safe. Maintaining safe public parks are your #1 obligation. It doesn't matter how nice they look or how well they're kept if they're not safe. So I remind you that that is the first obligation that you have, and that is to maintain a safe environment. Your very least commitment should be to add 2 officers. Thank you.
Jennifer Olson, followed by Dan Engelhardt.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Olson. I'm president of the Friends of the Eloise Butler Wildflower Garden. It will be 119 years old in April. They had over 55,000 engagements with staff and volunteers this year. The volunteers logged over 2,000 hours, and 5,000 youth and adults were involved with programming. In 2019, this improvement project was initiated. The utility sheds were built. The visitor center project was abandoned just because of costs and the damage it would occur to the garden. We now have a new entrance restoration project you'll be voting for tonight. The Friends are very happy with it. It improves safety, visibility of the garden, and the amphitheater, which will provide a space for programming. Every Thursday, we have story time where there can be up to 60 children and adults attending. The Friends are in a position to endorse the project and to provide fundraising and financing. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Engelhardt, followed by Lori Mittag.
Hello, Dan Engelhardt, Commissioner-elect for District 1. I'm urging you all to oppose either of these amendments that would cut the Park Keeper trainee program and shift money from various pots. Public safety is a holistic thing, and to take away a jobs program, a training program you heard Mitchell speak to, you've heard it been spoke to, is not public safety. 34, 35, 36 park police can't be everywhere at one time, but an activated park creates community safety. It is a lie to say that this helps public safety, and it is a lie to say it's been defunded. The budget has increased by 40% since 2018. Where has that $2.5 million increase gone if it hasn't gone to staffing that is being claimed to be needed? So the numbers are off, the auspices are off, and this was not a topic during the campaign that we had very publicly, that this was a need. The conversation was, we need youth programming, we need activated parks in our programming, so we need park keepers, and we need to get through the barriers to hiring that created the program in the first place. So please oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Mittag.
Good evening. My name is Lori Mittag, and I am here with my comrades from the Neighborhood Safety Clubs to support Elizabeth Schaefer in her proposal to add 2 police officers to the Minneapolis Park Police Department. I want to add some perspective. If I have my math and facts correctly, we have around 34 sworn police officers today. Back when the police department was formed in 1887, we had 35. And we have averaged around that amount for the last 100+ years. That seems a bit absurd to me and frankly irresponsible. What do? 185 parks in their facilities. They're responsible for almost 7,000 acres of parkland, 102 miles of pathways, millions of visitors to our parks every year. And we've added new parks. Crime is up. The responsibilities are many. The list is long, but their numbers remain stagnant. We are asking the park police to do so much more with the same number of officers, and now is not the time to do more with less. So please support Elizabeth Schaefer's proposal and keep our parks award-winning and our visitors to our park system safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call the names of some people that didn't respond earlier. So William Munich, Amber Frederick, Michelle Hemingway. Okay? They're not here, so with that, I will close open time and we'll proceed with our agenda. We're moving to the Planning Committee. Items coming from the Planning Committee.
On behalf of the Planning Committee, I would like to move Resolution 2025-244, resolution granting a temporary easement to Metropolitan Council Environmental Services for a sanitary sewer interceptor rehabilitation project located adjacent to Boston Field Park.
Second.
Is there discussion? Is there a point of information? Okay.
No.
Good? Okay, any discussion on the moved and seconded resolution? Seeing none? All those in favor of Resolution 2025-244, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I'd like to move Resolution 2025-245, resolution concurring with the Federal Highway Administration's de minimis finding under Section 4F of the Transportation Act of 1966 for the Cedar Lake Road Bridge Improvement Project adjacent to and within Bassett Creek Park, Bryn Mawr Meadows Park, and the Loose Line Regional Trail.
Is there a second?
Oh,
Second.
Secretary Ringel is.
President Forney,
Benny.
President Benny, Commissioner Forney.
It's been a year.
It's gonna keep happening, apparently. The last item needed a roll call, so when we're done with this one, we should go back.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, an easement, okay. So, but we'll finish this one?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this resolution? 245? Okay, seeing none, we can go ahead and, this does not need a roll call, so all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. And we'll go back to Resolution 2025-244. Secretary, will you take the roll?
Commissioner Alper,
Aye.
Commissioner Forney,
Aye.
Commissioner Menz,
Aye.
Commissioner Olson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rucker,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Vice President Musich,
Aye.
President DeBenny.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
Thank you.
I would like to move Resolution 2025-247, a resolution approving the concept plan and Phase 1 implementation of the Grand Rounds Missing Link. Second.
Okay, is there discussion?
Yes. I just want to note that there has been an edit in it, and it is including that this goes through northeast as well as southeast.
Commissioner Forney, do you mean the resolution language has been
Yes.
edited?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Is there other discussion? Okay, Commissioner Menz.
Commissioner, thank you. Commissioner Forney, you're saying that it's already in, I noticed that it's in there.
Correct.
It was
Yes.
edited. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Just want to make sure people knew that.
Okay, seeing no other lights, all those in favor of Resolution 2025-247, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I'd like to move Resolution 2025-206, a resolution approving de-accession from, I think I'm saying that right, anyway, MPRB's Public Art Collection of Pioneer Sculpture by John Carl Daniels, located in B.F. Nelson Park, part of Central Mississippi Riverfront Regional Park, sorry.
Second.
Is there discussion? Okay, I don't see any lights. I'll just comment, I haven't had communication, this is, I think, pretty local to the area that it's in, you know, in terms of people being really aware of it. But one thing that helps me understand this is that I know the Commissioner Menz has been very involved in this and been an advocate, so I think I appreciate when district commissioners can lead on these kind of hyper-local issues or things. Commissioner Menz.
Yeah, thank you for kind of inviting me to speak on this a little bit. I do have an amendment on the budget regarding this de-accession, and I really think that we should be congratulating Colleen Adele on how she's helped facilitate so much community engagement around this to make it an easy choice. And I think that, you know, as we grow and we change and, you know, monuments become interpreted differently, or the trauma of those monuments is exposed more readily, that we need to be able to act. And this is really a place where we're doing that action. So thank you so much. And I'm very hopeful that this passes and we can remove this as soon as possible.
Thank you. I'm glad you identified Colleen Odell's work. That's fantastic. Okay. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor of Resolution 2025-206, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I'd like to move Resolution 2025-251, a resolution approving the draft naming policy.
Second. All right. Is there discussion? Okay. Does this need a roll call? It's a policy now. Okay. I'm just, you know, throwing darts here. Okay. Seeing no interest in further discussion, all those in favor of Resolution 2025-251, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. And with that, we are at the end of the agenda, and we're at petitions and communications. I will turn to Commissioner Alper.
Pass.
Commissioner Schaefer.
I'll just say thank you to Superintendent Bangora for the update around the federal activities and how you're being proactive around that. I really appreciated that, and it's very reassuring to know that our executive staff are making the contacts and doing the research on what the best approach is for us. So thank you for that. And also wanted to thank you to Commissioner Rucker and Commissioner Musich for the Joint Endowment Committee work. That's really exciting to see that on the agenda, on the petitions and communications, and just wanted to say thanks for that.
Commissioner Menz.
Pass.
Commissioner Turner.
Pass.
Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. Yes, I know it was yesterday, but we have to acknowledge him anyway and everything. Commissioner Rucker's birthday was yesterday, and you know me, I always have to point it out in an embarrassing way. Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you.
Commissioner Olson.
Pass.
Commissioner Rucker.
Pass.
Vice President Musich.
Pass.
And I'll pass, and without objection, I'll declare the meeting adjourned.
With that, I can call the Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee to order. Secretary Ringgold, will you please take the roll?
Commissioner Musich.
Present.
Commissioner Rucker.
Here.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Here.
Vice Chair Olson.
Here.
Chair Menz.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Also move the agenda.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from September 18th, 2024.
I'll move the minutes from September 18th, 2024.
Thank you, Commissioner Rucker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have 3 action items on the agenda today. We'll be starting with Resolution 2025-238. Can I ask somebody to move that resolution, please?
I'll move Resolution 2025-238. This is a resolution approving one-year contracts effective January 1st of 2026 with Rice, Walther, and Mosley LLP in the amount not to exceed $100,000 and Tom Workman in the amount not to exceed $30,000 for lobbyist services.
Motion is on the floor. Is there a second? We don't need a second.
We don't
in
need a
committee.
second, we're in committee.
So, discussion? All those in favor of this motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'll read Resolution 2025-239. Resolution adopting the 2026 MPRB Draft Federal Legislative Agenda.
Point of order, was that a motion?
That was a motion. We are up for discussion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. One final motion, Resolution 2025-240, resolution approving the 2026 draft MPRB State Legislative Agenda. Any discussion? Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes, if there is no presentation or discussion, I do have an amendment to this agenda.
Thank you. Would you like a presentation?
No, I don't need one.
Okay. So do you need to?
Yes, I would like to propose an amendment to the state legislative agenda. I'll read it. Whereas MPRB and the Loring Park community have spent significant time, community engagement, and monies in spearheading the board-approved design of the Burger Fountain and surrounding plaza. Whereas there is currently a lack of funding to complete this project. Whereas Senator Dibble and former Representative Hornstein introduced a $2 million funding request from the state in 2024, which led to a successful award of $200,000. Whereas Senator Dibble and Representative Jones are interested in sponsoring a legislative proposal for Burger Fountain in the 2026 session. Resolved, the following paragraph be added to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board's 2026 legislative agenda under state funding. Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. We support a $1 million, $800,000 grant in fiscal year 2026 from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund to the Commissioner of Administration for the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board to restore Burger Fountain at Loring Park and for improvements to the surrounding plaza. So I'll just speak a couple minutes to this. This was similar to the resolution that we adopted in 2024. And I heard about this work through the Planning Department, and I'm happy to bring it forward today.
So we have a motion for an amendment to the agenda, to the legislative agenda. Is there any other discussion on that amendment? Commissioner Olson.
I guess this would be directed towards either Lobbyist Rice or Pamela. Do we seek funding in this for any other objects at this current point? I mean, it seems like a good idea. Just want to know if we're giving up capacity towards something else.
Thank you for the question. And Chair Menz and Commissioners, we don't traditionally seek funding out of the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. However, we did a few years ago for the Burger Fountain, and we did get a small amount for that. The Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund had in the past been more of a competitive grant program. Of late, they're doing a lot of direct appropriations out of that fund. It's become kind of contentious in terms of members who would like it not to be that way. They don't have a big enough pot of money. We did run into an issue last session where they were going to do a direct, appropriation instead of out of Arts and Cultural Heritage for Wilderness Inquiry. It was going to come out of Parks and Trail
Lobbyist Rice testified brilliantly about why that's not the way that fund operates. And it's not that we didn't support the work of Wilderness Inquiry at all, but luckily they took it out of Arts and Cultural Heritage, out of that fund. But yes, so we have gotten money for Burger Fountain a few years ago for out of the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, but we don't traditionally, or since I've been here, apply for a grant out of that fund.
Okay, yeah, this seems fine. Would be nice to get this finished.
Is there any other discussion on the amendment to the legislative agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Will be amended and added to the 2026 MPRB state legislative agenda. Now we're back to the resolution approving the state legislative agenda. Is there any further discussion? Looks like we have Commissioner Forney.
Thank you, Chair Menz. I'm not on this committee, and I apologize. I did not put any amendment together, but I really hope that we can have a discussion, either in the future board, whatever, about air conditioning in our rec centers and in our schools. To me, I think that it should be a statewide mandate. Particularly, I know there's some people who don't believe in climate change, but with climate change, I think it's something that we could really move forward, because too often I've heard that we've had to close our rec centers due to the heat. Where are those kids going? Anyway, I find it appalling, and I really do feel that it could be a concerted effort statewide to find funding for those facilities.
Commissioner Olson.
Yeah, this also kind of snuck up on me. I'd like to, in the future, perhaps next year or when this becomes a full board, have an amendment. So we were speaking of ice, what can we do to kind of prevent them on our property? One thing I learned is that we are actually preempted from prohibiting weapons and guns from coming onto our park board property. There is a movement of other municipalities that have said that this is something that they hope to change following the assassination of Melissa Hortman. It's also tied up with the fact that at the state capitol, you can bring a gun into the state capitol. So it's kind of under this similar law. So I think that's probably one thing where we can kind of join that coalition of folks, try to bring that autonomy towards us so we can prevent lethal weapons from entering our recreation centers and public spaces. And then perhaps that could be a means by which we could prevent these sort of enforcement agencies from stationing on our property, by saying, hey, you can't bring they could still come in, but perhaps not with weapons. And so I think that's something I'd like to add at the next opportunity. Just wanted to bring it up with folks here.
I'll speak to that then, since nobody else has their lights on. That's a really interesting place to put that. And from what I understand, this will go to the full board. We still have an opportunity to amend this state agenda. Ms. Gogamar.
Thank you, Chair Menz and Commissioners and Commissioner Olson. I just wanted to add that is something that came up in our Metro Parks Coalition last year. There was a bill introduced, my recollection, to ban guns on park premises. That will come up again. We have our initial kickoff meeting this Friday, and that's one of the items we will be discussing, if there's support collectively to pursue that. And that is correct. We will, the full board will adopt the final state legislative agenda following our February 6th legislative breakfast. Yep.
Okay, so it sounds like, Commissioner Olson, what I'm saying is you might have time to do that. So this is just a draft, and it's not like normal resolutions where it goes to the full board the next meeting. So it doesn't feel that way, at least. So with that, no other lights. All those in favor of adopting the amended 2026 MPRB staff legislative agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And we have come to the end of the Legislative and Governmental Affairs Committee at 6:10.
And at 6:10, I'll open the Admin and Finance Committee. Secretary Ringgold, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner, oh, this is a little different because it's a different thing. So, President Abeni.
Here.
Commissioner Alper.
Present.
Commissioner Forney.
Here.
Commissioner Menz.
Here.
Commissioner Olson.
Here.
Commissioner Rucker.
Here.
Commissioner Turner.
Here.
Vice Chair Musich.
Present.
Chair Schaefer.
Here.
You have a quorum.
And as we move to approve the agenda, I just want to make one comment. Obviously, we've got a lot on our agenda tonight, which is very exciting, one of them being the resolution adopting the 2026 budget. As part of that, we have a list of almost 9 amendments, 8 to 9 amendments, depending if they're all brought forward. And I would like to have these brought forward in an organized manner so that we can look at our papers, get them in order, so that you have a chance to prepare for these. The first one amendment that will be opened is Park Staff Amendment. Then we will do Commissioner Forney. Third will be Commissioner Alper. Fourth will be Commissioner Menz, all 3 of his amendments, unless he chooses to split them up. Fifth, Commissioner Turner. Sixth, Commissioner Schaefer. Is there any questions around that? For ease of watching the lights, I appreciate your flexibility. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. May I have someone move the minutes?
I'll move the Administration and Finance Committee meeting minutes of October 9th, 2025.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. May I have a commissioner, please
I'll
move
move
the
Resolution
first
2025-273, resolution approving a revised Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board background check policy and procedure.
Great. Does anyone have any questions, or would anyone like a presentation from Director Brooks on this item? No. Okay, all those in favor of this change, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I'll move Resolution 2025-265, resolution amending PB 15-3 of the Park and Recreation Board Code of Ordinances relating to parkland dedication.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. This is mirroring something that happened at the level of the City Council already. But I would just like to call on Council Rice if you want to just give 2 minutes around what this change is.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is, as you mentioned, the Park Board amending a concurrent ordinance that the City of Minneapolis and the Park Board adopted really years ago, almost 20 years now, dealing with park dedication fee. An issue came up over the last year and a half or so, where tribal governments were, they built some housing projects, and they were seeking an exemption from the ordinance. There were a number of questions. Ultimately, we worked with the city attorney's office and came up with a small but very important amendment. As you read the draft amendment, it really is only the addition of a comma and the words "or tribal government entity," and what it would do is treat tribal government entities financing of affordable housing in the same manner that is treated for local, state, and federal, which is to grant an exemption from the park dedication fee per unit, which is now approximately $2,000. I did want to comment on this in part because it is an exemption from the ordinance, and just a couple weeks ago in the Star and Tribune there was a commentary piece that suggested this exemption was somehow just the park boards alone, and that this exemption, because affordable housing is not pay the fee, that is somehow discriminatory against people of lower incomes, and that somehow the park board's policy on this is the thing that perpetuated that discrimination. Let me just say, when this ordinance came into being almost 20 years ago, the exemption was insisted upon by the city council, not the park board, because this is a concurrent ordinance, and that it was only, and we had to go through the legislature to do it. So I just wanted to clarify that. We certainly do recommend it. We think it's a good policy change. This ordinance has only been amended 2 or 3 times in its 20-year history, but I think just for the record, when you do this, it's important to put that on the record, especially in light where this board is being criticized for that exemption, which was, again, not our exemption. This is in part stuff that comes from the city council.
Thank you, Council Rice. Any further questions? Seeing no lights, all those in favor of Resolution 2025-265, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That motion carries.
I'll move
like to-
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll move Resolution 2025-269, resolution setting the 2026 tax levy for the Park Museum Fund.
Second? Great. Any comments or questions on this particular item? All those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I'll move then Resolution 2025-268, resolution adopting the 2024 Minneapolis Park Museum budget.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Any questions on this?
I heard 2024, but it's 2026.
Did I say that? Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
2026,
Yes. It's adopt the right budget.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. There's no questions or lights. All those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Would someone like to move the next one?
I'll move Resolution 2025-272, resolution setting the 2026 tax levy for the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board.
Thank you. Any questions on this particular item? No lights? All those in favor of this particular resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Would anyone like to introduce the main course?
Yes, I would like to move Resolution 2025 oh my goodness,
271.
271, resolution adopting the 2026 Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board budget.
Great. Does anybody have any questions here before we get into the amendments about the budget as a whole? We have Director Wiseman available. Any questions in particular about any items of the budget as a whole? Seeing no lights, I would like to have someone bring forward the staff amendment.
Chair Schaefer.
Oh, yes.
I apologize.
Yes.
We have an enterprise fund overview presentation.
Yes.
That we would like to give before you start the conversations.
Yes.
Around amendments.
Absolutely, and I apologize, I did not get that message or overlooked it.
I can.
Sorry, Chair Schaefer, Director Wiseman. Chair Schaefer and I discussed that if she wants this, she will request it a little bit later on, and my apologies for not letting you know that. So if you'd like it, I can do it now, or if you want it later, if it comes up, I can do it then.
Why don't we save it in case we do not have questions around the enterprise fund? But I really appreciate that because I know that is part of some of the discussions that we're going to be having in the upcoming amendments. So don't go far away. Yes.
Okay, I would like to move the staff resolution, action that the Board of Commissioners amend the 2026 through 2031 capital improvement program to include the board and council approved 20-year neighborhood park plan, guaranteed minimum annual amount escalations for 2027 through 2031. All neighborhood park capital and rehabilitation projects are amended to include the 4% escalation factors each year, rounded those amounts, and utilized the balance to further amend the 2031 capital plan to include capital contingency funding in the amount of $540,000.
Thank you. Any questions around this amendment? President Abeni.
I'll just comment. I mean, I think we said it before, but it's exciting that we have to do this because it means that the next 5 years will see the annual increase of 4% each year. So that's great work. I just want to say that.
Absolutely. Great. All those in favor of this amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That amendment will be added to the budget. Thank you. Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. I would like to move an action to identify staff and workspace needed to maintain these, meaning the additional managed natural areas, identify multiple potential funding strategies for additional staffing and space needs.
Thank you. Vice President Musich.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. I think you're talking about the natural areas budget item that you're amending. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, sorry about that, how to phrase that and everything, but adding to the action in the budget and just identifying or further,
Expanding upon it. Got it.
thank you.
Okay.
Having a hard time saying this. Go ahead.
So I've always been a fan of identifying in the budget action items that allow us to prepare for needs in future years. The item that was already submitted by staff felt really robust, although I do really appreciate you taking into consideration the additional need for space to store the equipment that would support the people that we're trying to make a case for in the next budget. So just wanted to thank Commissioner Forney for making it even a more of a valuable add to the budget process for 2027. Thank you.
Thank you. And, you know, it's not only workspace, but also, as you indicate, staff and everything. And the community has expressed a great deal of concern. They feel that, are we meeting the needs? And so I really feel that we need to direct staff in that way. So that's what my amendment is.
Great. Vice President Musich, did you have any further comment? No. All right. President Abeni.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. So I just wanted to clarify, because what I understood that one to be is basically what it does is it adds a couple of action steps to the already adopted strategic direction, basically, that were in the budgets, like the actions that were in the budget already, from our strategic direction work, basically.
Correct.
Okay. And one of those was for the staff to recommend what type of environmental staff would benefit the organization, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And I can further detail that, you know, such as access, staffing, space, and and equipment needs associated with additional managed natural areas if needed, make adjustments in the 2027-28 funding requests for additional resources needed, and explore multiple funding strategies for additional staffing, space, and equipment needs.
Commissioner Menz.
I'm sorry, what are we voting on? Are we going to vote on this?
It's an amendment? Yep.
Yep.
So everyone has, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's in the very back of the packet. If you're
Right.
looking for it, it's in the very back. Go ahead, Commissioner Menz.
Just the conciseness of the language. I'm not seeing the specific language of that amendment. So can you?
Here you go.
Oh, are you gonna?
Thank you. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, the way that it was, I see that. Yep.
The rest was already there.
Yep. It's the same paper. Now it's ripped. So there's not, so no change to the funding sources, just the
Exactly.
process
No,
feature.
exactly.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Commissioner Forney.
And just to clarify, there is no resolved clauses other than just this last statement. Superintendent prioritize any future gains in O&M lottery and loop proceeds to natural areas expenses. Is that it?
That's a different.
Just want to make
that's it.
sure. Looking to staff, is that?
That's part of it.
Secretary
I'm not certain where this statement fits in with what's written above it.
And I have to say, I'm lacking in that language too, and I've looked to Deputy Superintendent Ringel. She helped me on this.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer and Commissioner Forney. So there's actually two pieces here. There's one piece that is a budget amendment modification. It's a little hard to see it in black and white because the changes are actually in bold on the document. So under the action, after the comma where it says "and identify staff," that's the new language. And then on the second page, the top two items, one's assessing staff and the other one exploring multiple funding strategies. That's the new language added to your existing budget strategy, and that would effectively direct staff throughout this next year to develop a strategy for the board on how we might look at expanding resources within natural resources, staff, and area management. Part 2 of this is actually not a budget amendment because it's not something that's part of the budget, but it is something that we would provide if we kind of got a sense that you all wanted it. And the second one is related to our lottery O&M funding. You're familiar with this. We have a lot of that funding in our capital program. We have a lot of that funding in our rehab program. And we have a little over $500,000 of that you all allocated in this term to natural areas specifically. You doubled the amount of resources in that area during your term. And this budget actually adds a little bit more from that resource to help address a cost of increase for staff. What this would do is this fund does increase at a small but effective pace, and this would direct that the superintendent in future years would take any increases we have in that fund and direct it towards natural areas and that the staffing in that area. This will help offset ongoing increases in staff needs within that area. This would be in addition to the budget action. And if you want this, we would bring this as a resolution at the next meeting because it's actually not a budget amendment. There isn't anything to amend in this budget because you're actually directing the superintendent to do something in the future.
It's a point of order.
Thank you for that clarity.
I'm sorry, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Vice President Musich.
Parliamentarian Rice, since the second piece of the amendment is not actually an amendment, should it be seen as a request to the committee chair to work with the proposer to bring something forward at our next meeting?
I apologize, Madam Chair and Commissioner Musich. I know I've reviewed the amendments. Could you refer which amendment you're referring to?
It's the last 2 pages of the packet that we were provided. I unfortunately can't refer to them anymore because I gave mine away.
Is this the Forney?
The Forney amendment,
Okay.
yep. Part of the amendment's not actually an amendment.
Right.
So I'm wondering what the appropriate process is under parliamentary procedure to have that actionable, since it currently is not.
And as I read this, are you suggesting you divide the amendment?
I mean, part of it's not an amendment, it's an ask to have the superintendent do work. So in my understanding of the way that we do this work, it really should be an independent resolution directing the superintendent to do work that would not be part of the budgeting process itself. And I'm asking if that is accurate. And if so, is the appropriate path forward for the board to have the chair of this committee work with the proposer to put forward a resolution to the board directing the superintendent to take that action?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Musich, you certainly could do that.
Okay. So I guess then,
Vice President Musich, your light is on. Yes.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer, for allowing me to speak. I would like to make a friendly amendment to strike the second portion of the amendment so that we can consider the portion relevant to the matter at hand, which is the 2026 Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board budget. And then the motion maker could work with the chair of this committee to bring something forward at our next board meeting for the second piece.
And I accept that.
Sweet.
Amendment. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Vice President Musich. We have taken out the last statement there, and we are simply voting on the language that Commissioner Forney would like to add to our strategic directions. Is there any other questions around this? If I have misstated, please tell me. Yes, President Benny.
Just for clarification, I mean, this is how I understand it. This is really this particular amendment coming forward from Commissioner Forney. It doesn't carry a dollar amount associated with it. It's just adding additional tasks that are identified in the budget book around this budget action.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I guess I have one further question around this potential resolution, Commissioner Forney, that may go forward next week, next week. I was unaware that we could make demands in one budget cycle for an out budget cycle. Like in 2026, we have a resolution that directs people to action in 2027 or beyond. Am I incorrect?
Chair Schaefer, I might need Council Rice's assistance here, but in the past, we have seen the board direct staff to do work and to think about how they would allocate future resources. I think there's actually maybe some other amendments we'll see tonight that will be kind of in that vein. These were actually not intended to be coupled. The first part was intended to be an amendment, the second part more of a direction.
Great.
So.
Great. Thank you. That's helpful. All those in favor of Commissioner Forney's first part, amending the language in this particular section of our strategic directions, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That amendment carries. Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Next up, we have Commissioner Elbert.
It's 6:30.
Oh, sorry. I will recess the Admin and Finance Committee.
Thank you. On behalf of the Planning Committee, I'd like to call the meeting to order here at 6:31 with Secretary Ringo. Call the roll. Sorry.
Commissioner Elper,
Present.
Commissioner Musich,
Present.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Present.
Vice Chair Rucker,
Here.
Chair Forney.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for approval of our agenda. So
Also
moved.
moved.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That action carries. Okay, we have a public hearing here, so we will have a presentation first of the Sioux Line Garden Concept Plan from Senior Planner Odell. Welcome.
I just have to find it. There it is.
Doesn't look
Good evening, Commissioners. Chair Forney, Commissioners, thank you. This before you is the concept plan approval for Sioux Line Community Garden. It's located in the Southwest Service Area, District 4. It's about 1.5 acres, and it's north of the Midtown Greenway between Garfield and Harriet Avenues. So in the 1800s, 1900s, it had been used for railroad uses, grain storage elevators, and by 1991, it was an empty grass lot owned by Hennepin County. And it's at that point that the Whittier residents began gardening in that space. 10 years after that, Midtown Greenway opened officially to bikes and pedestrians. And there was also some interest from developers in 2005 in turning it into building on the site, which the gardeners vehemently opposed. So in 2010, the image you see here is pretty much what it looked like for quite a long time, because Park Board assumed ownership of the site from Hennepin County through a tax forfeited land process. So since that time, it's been pretty much an active park garden, and it includes not only individual plots, but shared children's garden, a Whittier school garden, pollinator plantings, orchard, and lots of events happened in this garden space. So in 2021, Hennepin County had proposed building access to the Midtown Greenway just south of the site, right through the garden, and we worked for several years with them and community on that possibility. And in 2024, soil contamination was discovered at a site at a level that our engineers that we discussed it with said probably should shut the garden down at that point. So we did immediately close the garden. Those gardeners were relocated to temporary locations not too far away, and the next meeting, this board voted to not move forward with Hennepin County's plans. So starting last year and through this year, the Park Board has been working to try to have this site remediated. We applied for but did not receive environmental response fund grants for full contamination remediation. So instead we pivoted and used some of the funds that we had allocated for this project to capping a partial area of the garden soil, creating a temporary raised garden, and putting our efforts towards a long-range concept plan. As I mentioned, the sources of funding for this came from a variety of different places, and the uses to date were both for the temporary improvements that are now open, as well as completing a long-range plan for this space. And in talking to our design consultants, they anticipate that it could be a potential $1.5 million project to complete, but half of that, fully half of that, would be a full site remediation. So why is there a garden here in this space, in this parkland space? It does align with several of our adopted plans, and in particular, focusing on the work that has already been put into the garden space by volunteers, the habitat created by the space, and the ability to increase food access for folks in the neighborhood. So some of the top themes for developing this long-range plan included accessibility, improving the garden quality, and improving trails throughout the entire space. So before you is the concept plan, the final one. And I will point out some of the changes in this final version focus on accessible raised beds, accessible gathering spaces, path, and some boulder retaining walls and stairs to the garden itself. So the status right now of the garden, as you see in this picture on the right, is about 95% constructed. We have several representatives of the Sioux Line Garden here who will be speaking later, and I want to thank them for the hard work that they've put in to everything with this garden development over many years. It should be open for planting next summer, and then after that, should this plan be adopted tonight and at the following meeting, we'll amend it into the Midtown Greenway Regional Trail Plan, and we will partner with gardeners and other community members on fundraising for a full remediation. That's the presentation.
Thank you. I am going to read our public hearing rules. Thanks to all of you who want to share your thoughts and ideas with us during tonight's public hearing. Before we start, we would like to provide an abbreviated version of the public hearing rules. All individuals wishing to speak can sign up prior to the start of the public hearing today, December 3rd, 2025. If you have not signed up to testify yet, please do so at the front desk located on the first floor. This public hearing will have a time allotted by me, the chair, of 3 minutes per person. Please watch the timer up here to be considerate of others here to speak, and stay within your allotted time. During the public hearing, public testimony will be given without debate, and only clarifying questions from the board will be allowed. We will not allow discriminatory and/or harassing words directed at anyone. So please ensure that all your comments you make tonight comply with this policy. The board made the decision many years ago to operate under Robert's Rules of Order. Under Robert's Rules of Order, the ceding of time to another person is not allowed. We also request that each speaker provide their name and address. As the chair of this meeting, I will call for the additional testifiers at the end of the meeting, of the hearing, 3 times before the public hearing is allowed. We have 3 speakers, as I said, Jessica Kolchik, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but welcome, and then Sarah Kelly, and after that is Crystal Dominic Salas. Jessica, welcome.
Hi, I'm Jess. I live in the Whittier neighborhood. I'm also on the board of Sioux Line Community Garden. Bunch of the people behind you, like Colleen said, we've been rebuilding the garden this year. That's been drilling a lot of boards together, hauling a lot of soil, and it's brought the garden back to life after being closed. It's been gardeners who've been around for decades, who've been around since before the Greenway even existed, people like myself who've been around for several years, and even brand new people who just moved to the neighborhood and were walking to Aldi and stopped and said, I want to haul some soil. So it really feels like it's knitting the community together, and that's one of the things that we love about this concept plan, because it honors that community spirit of the garden, and it creates these beautiful, accessible community gathering spaces, children's classroom area, additional children's plots and school plots, and it maintains the amount of gardening space that we have now, which is so important for actually more and more families all the time to have access to the ability to grow food. The other thing that we really love about this plan is once the soil is remediated fully and we can plant in the ground again, it allows us to do what Sioux Line has been, which is a connected wildlife habitat, pollinator habitat, this little patch of habitat that is so important, not just important for the animals, the pollinators, important for our extreme heat and weather events, to have all of this permeable soil in such a dense neighborhood, but also so important for people. And there's so many people that come through the garden on bikes, on foot, with dogs, whatever, who this whole fall had just stopped and they're like, oh, thank God you're back. We're so happy you're back. Like, we can't wait for it to be wild again. And just thanking us for being there. It's so important to the community beyond just the gardeners. And I think what's so beautiful about this plan is it's like a vision or something to showcase of what community gardens and public parks can be in an urban space like this. And I think people crave it and want it, and it's going to be really important for the city. And Minneapolis is such an innovative place for green space, and this is just a really great example of that. So.
Thank you, Jess. Sarah? Is Sarah here? Oh, welcome.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kelly. I'm at 2832 Harriet. My house used to be worker housing for the railroad industrial site. So I bought that house in 2021. The garden was a big part of the decision to buy that property. And this is my 2021 was the first time living here, but I have family ties as I am a member of the White Earth Nation of Ojibwe. So I wanted to talk about more of the neighborhood impact without the gardeners there to help understand the impact of not having a permanent space for gardening. In last year, the garden was overgrown, like over 7 feet high, and because there was no brush cutting back, there was no activity, and there was no gardeners, a lot of different, let's say, nefarious activities moved into the space. In my experience, drug overdoses, audible sex work, just all kinds of things that are not community building and definitely not community building in the way that the garden does. So I believe it is a safety issue and like a public safety issue. I don't think anybody wants to live in a neighborhood where the park next door is a place for deaths of despair. So I really hope that we do pass this, and I want to point out some really cool things about this design that I personally like as a neighbor. One is that the shed has been moved closer to Garfield, and having that as the gathering space to keep it kind of away from the residential spaces. It's not away, but it's closer to where, it's closer to the street and more prominent and more visible as a garden to have that gathering space there, and I think that's a great place for it. The stairs, and I might point out that the bike path in the place that it is keeps some of the faster bike traffic out of the bed spaces where there are kids and dogs running around. So there are a lot of features about this design that I really appreciate and that other people appreciate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then lastly, Christelle.
Great afternoon. I really like the plan that we have on the concept because it gives us more accessibility to other people, gives more people space to plant, more people can learn new things, plant, find new ways like to learn plants, grow them, and really learn about different cultures and many different recipes from different people. And the kids can like plan many things, enjoy, have fun, and really a lot of them, and more, especially the bikes and people that walk their dogs can see the kids and animals around the garden, having a lot of fresh air, the trees being safe for the birds to place their nest, and there's really a lot of things that the gardeners can do to help each other. There's more space, more people can learn about each other and their garden types, plants, and etc. And many people can find the fun in gardening. Really, that's it that I have. Thank you.
Not seeing any other people signed up, I'll just ask again if there was any additional testifiers. Are there any other additional testifiers? Lastly, are there any additional testifiers? Not seeing any, I'm going to close then the public hearing. And if it's okay with the board, I would like to complete the planning committee agenda. That's all right. So let us move then to our next resolution. Somebody would like to read that for me? 2025-243.
I'd like to, oh, go ahead. I'd like to move Resolution 2025-243, resolution approving temporary occupancy under Section 4F of the Transportation Act of 1966 for the North Side Greenway Phases 1 and 2 adjacent to and within Falwell Park, Jordan Park, Gale Park, Irving Triangle, North Commons Park, and Lovell Square Park.
Any questions? Any questions? Not seeing any lights. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That action carries. On to our next resolution.
I'll move Resolution 2025-255. Resolution approving the concept plan for Sioux Line Community Garden and amending the Midtown Greenway Regional Trail Plan to include the approved Sioux Line Community Garden concept plan.
Any questions? Any questions? Yes. Commissioner Olson. Oh, yeah, I think you're first. Go ahead.
Well, thanks for letting me speak. I'm not on this committee. I just have two quick questions. So the path going down, I saw it was crushed gravel, but also it's being called accessible. Is crushed gravel ADA compliant, or are we saying it's accessible because it's more of a, I just have visions of crushed gravel being difficult to traverse is all.
Thank you, Chair Forney, Commissioner Olson. Yeah, it does have the possibility to be accessible. It depends if you're using a binding agent or not. And that's the preferred material with the design, and we'll determine exactly what it's going to be when it's built.
Okay. Well, yep. I just encourage when it's finally built. I mean, because I know having water filtration, things of that nature was important for the community when we were kind of discussing the initial plan. But just want to make sure that folks in mobility devices and whatever else they need can use that path in an effective manner. How will the garden plots be determined and assigned?
Chair Forney, Commissioner Olson, this is a legacy garden, so it came into our system as a garden. It doesn't operate under our existing community garden program. So it is run by the Sioux Line Community Garden Organization itself, and they completely manage where these plots, who's gardening the plots, how they're doled out, and how it works. And then they partner with us when there are things that they need at the space.
Okay. Have we had past examples where we have $1.5 million budget plan for legacy gardens, or it just kind of seems?
Not that I'm aware of, or Commissioner Olson, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the community and the gardeners for all of your advocacy at the beginning of my term till this day. And it's really meaningful for me to be able to sit here, see your faces, see the yellow t-shirts again, and know that we have kind of put this to rest. And I want you to know that your advocacy, your leadership is going to make a difference in Whittier. It's already making a difference for Whittier School. And you should be so proud of your efforts. And I'm proud to have been able to support you through this process and to make everything fit in a way that makes everyone happy is a real win for all of us. So I just want to say thank you and kudos, and you should be very proud.
Commissioner Alper.
Yeah, thanks. First, I want to say it looks beautiful, and I hope that, you know, a couple years in, that somebody can do some drone photography and videography to, you know, compare the concept plan with the result. I just think that would be really cool. Just a couple thoughts here. You know, I see a lot of families with kids on bikes, and I just thinking about that curve and my kids and how, you know, after a bike ride and picturing like, oh, come on, you have to go up the hill. And I'm wondering if we can, and imagining myself pushing a bike up the stairs because the kids want to take the shortcut. And so I'm just wondering if that little piece down, I can't really show it here, but the first bit of the staircase, if there could be a rail added so that you could push a bike up. That's just one thing. And then in terms of the number 7, the stormwater treatment swale with native plants, I mean, I love everything about this. It looks great. I just am trying to picture that hill and just wanting to make sure that there's like eyes on the path, so that there's that interaction between, that the garden can still be secluded, but also have the eyes go both ways, you know, and thinking about what the speaker was saying about how without the gardeners, this place has felt less safe and kind of been more neglected. So those are just a couple thoughts. It's probably already incorporated, but I was just pondering that looking at the plan. Thanks.
Commissioner Menz?
I think I'm not on this committee. I also wanted to reiterate some of the things that Commissioner Schaefer said, just that it's been so heartwarming to see your community come together and really fight for something, and for the park board to work with community to find a really awesome solution for this space. I can't wait to bring my students in some time. And also to Commissioner Alper, I had one of those over at Prospect Park or Camden Bridge. They've got the rails in it, and it's a welcome addition when you're riding a bike, and it really encourages you to walk your bike on those spaces. So thanks.
Thank you. And I too want to just take kudos to the community. I know this was a contentious time because of the Hennepin County's attitude on things. And so I really need to say kudos to staff for finding literally a path forward. And I'm anxious to see this be completed as well. So with that, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That action carries. On to our next resolution. Somebody would read that?
I'll move resolution 2025-256. This is a resolution approving temporary construction easement to Hennepin County for Cedar Avenue reconstruction project adjacent to and within Cedar Field Park, and reducing easement fees based upon quantitative betterments.
Great. Any questions? Not seeing any lights. Any questions? All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That action carries. On to our next resolution.
I'll move resolution 2025-263, resolution approving renaming 28th Street Tot Lot to Chickadee Park.
Any questions? Any questions? Not seeing any lights. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That action carries. On to our last one.
I'd like to move Resolution 2025-264, a resolution approving the name Parque Monarca for the CIPRO site.
Great. Any questions? Questions? Not seeing any lights. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That action carries. And here at 6:55, I will adjourn the Planning Committee.
At 6:55, I will reopen the Admin and Finance Committee meeting. As you remember, we were on Resolution 271, resolution adopting the 2026 Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board budget. We have 2 approved amendments. Moving on to Commissioner Alper.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to move the first amendment that I put forward, and that reads, for the 2026 budget year, allocate $84,000 in enterprise fund parking revenue to the general fund with the following changes in parking rates. Increase Boom Island from $1 per hour to $2 per hour. Increase Nicollet Island Bridge from $1 per hour to $2 per hour, and system-wide increases to total $64,000. These funds will go back to the enterprise fund once $84,000 in new revenue sources, not including the Rec Plus fee increase, are identified in the general fund. In the general fund, reduce contractual services by $10,270 in the Recreation Division budget, and remove proposed fee increase in 2026 for Rec Plus. And Chair Schaefer, may I speak to this amendment?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So you know that recreation, childcare, and youth are close to my heart. And so I worked with staff to identify a possible way to prevent Rec Plus fees from increasing in 2026. The amount to keep Rec Plus whole would be $94,270. And so I guess I would like to ask staff if they could just kind of speak to the logic behind how I asked them to look for parking fee increases, but how these particular ones were chosen and what some of this language means.
Secretary Ringgold, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, Chair Schaefer and Commissioner Alper. Director Olson might come up and help a little bit as well. But these parking fee increases are a couple of pieces. One, there had been a previous commissioner question looking at what would it look like to take a certain number of lots and change it from $1 to $2. The 2 lots that showed some promise, one was the Nicollet Island Bridge lot, and the other one was the Boom Island lot. So this resolution includes about $20,000 that would be assumed from that increase. And then we have kind of a grouping of different smaller changes we would make across the system to attempt to reach the remaining dollars. Our staff had a good, but perhaps not as long of time they would ideally have to identify all of the sources, but we would anticipate being able to reach that goal. The part of the concept of this is that, as you may know or are aware, the recommended enterprise budget for 2026 actually shows a deficit of $350,000 in it. So it actually comes in with a deficit, and that's what's been recommended. There are 2 factors really attributing to that. One of those factors is the anticipated change in the Awamni venue. So we're anticipating $190,000 loss there in this next year. The other piece is that we've seen staff wage increases and other pieces. So staff will be working actually in 2026 in general to increase revenue within the enterprise fund to try to stabilize this. The nice thing about this is we'd have to likely do these types of increases, and once we have new revenue in the general fund, this revenue that we'll be receiving will move back into the enterprise fund. So this is work we would have had to have done anyway to solve for the gap that we have. Oop, sorry, I just beat myself. So that's some of the logic there. I hope that's helpful.
Great. Thank you, Secretary Ringgold.
Oh, could I?
Did you? Yes, go ahead.
Could I continue?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, so question, would this change negatively impact, you mentioned the debt, would it negatively impact enterprise debt in 2026? It would hold it stable, correct?
Chair Schaefer and Commissioner Alper. So what we would anticipate here is, as we're looking for more revenue in the enterprise fund, we would prioritize the first, what is the total end up? 84,000 that we raise would go towards relieving the impact we're seeing in Rec Plus in terms of the additional pieces, or the additional expenses that we're seeing there, so we don't have to raise the fee. We would still have to raise an additional 350,000. So there's a chance, in all honesty, there's a chance that we won't raise that type of money, but the intent would be that this would be the first priority, and then we would go towards solving for the 350,000.
Okay, so just a note to confirm, the 2026 budget, just for clarification, already had some increases in parking baked into it, and this is separate, correct? And could you speak to the already baked in increases that are included in the 2026 budget?
Correct, Commissioner Schaefer, Chair Schaefer and Commissioner Alper. We have a variety of different parking increases in the recommended budget. Within the enterprise fund, there are two key categories. One of them is a $110,000 increase at the Minnehaha lots, and that's in part looking at that being one of our highest revenue lots and in trying to increase turnover rates. The other one is kind of a 2-year project where we've been looking at some of the sites where we have school parking, and it's an increase at that location. It might have been 115,000 and 10,000 might have been the numbers there. So it's about 125,000 total that we're seeing in the enterprise fund. Annie might have some additional, or Director Olson might have some additional pieces to that. We have other increases in the general fund. So we have parking at Neiman, and we have some event parking that's coming up in the general fund.
Director Olson, would you like to speak to anything that was mentioned? And then we'll come back to you, Commissioner Alper.
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Alper, and thank you, Deputy Superintendent and Board Secretary Ringgold. You nailed it. But I would like to just clarify, staff took time when preparing the budget to identify locations that we felt pretty confident that we could raise the money by using the already approved slate of parking rates that is part of the fee schedule that we continue to move forward each year over the past number of years, where, and I know you've all seen this before, so I don't want to belabor the point, but we have quite a deep slate of rates that we can choose from, and we did that specifically so we could lean on trends, look at turnover rates, see if we could increase turnover rates in areas that were really congested or highly used, while also maximizing the opportunity to generate revenue for the enterprise fund. So the ones that we had initially moved forward that were already baked in felt like pretty sure things. These additional we don't know for sure what they will bring. So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah. Great, thank you for that. I have a question for Assistant Superintendent Hernandez, because we do have a piece about how, or I do have a piece in here about looking for identifying other revenue sources, and how that this is a 2026 plan, and then those, if this passes, then in 2027, those parking fee increases would stay and benefit the enterprise fund and reduction in debt in that piece there. So I'm just, if you could speak to, why do we have this increase in 94,000? And I think in Rec Plus, the need to increase fees, at least, and why I think for good reasons, right? Yeah. It's staffing costs predominantly. If you could speak to that, thank you.
Yes. Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Alper. Yes, part of the cost is mainly staffing cost. In 2024, I want to say we did a 4.5 increase for staffing, which is much needed for our staff. But majority of the costs or the increases needed for staffing, and also just supplies and overall just operational expenses for the program.
And so I believe, though, that you are looking for other revenue sources. Could you speak to that?
Yes. So with that, I think we've been really intentional across the board with our recreation programs to really look at how we can sustain programming. In particular with Rec Plus, earlier this year we participated in an Ignite After School to get a certification at a couple of our locations, not only to enhance program quality, but to help when we're looking at trying to solidify grants and other external partnerships that we're looking at. Another thing we've also talked about is I've met with Martin from Parks Foundation to talk about like how Parks Foundation can help support some of those line items as well as for it's like field trips or supply costs and things like that. So those conversations have been in the works and been in discussion as well too.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Alper. I believe the next person who had their light on was Vice President Musich.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. Given that I've spent my 3 terms on the board trying to undo the damage of previous boards' pilfering of the enterprise fund for general fund initiatives, I won't be supporting this amendment.
Thank you. President Abene.
Yes, I have some questions about actually the Rec Plus program. So maybe I should know this, and maybe it was in the materials and I just missed it, but what is the percentage increase that Rec Plus users will be experiencing? Is there, what is this, how does this translate, this 94,000? Is there a Rec Plus bill going up 2%, 3%, 4%? Do we know?
Chair Schaefer, President Abeni, if I can come back to you with that information specifically of what those percentages would be.
A related question, and so maybe it can't be answered tonight, but a related question is, so Rec Plus is supported by fees, but it's not an enterprise. Rec Plus fees don't fully fund the Rec Plus operation. Is that true? There are funds that already flow from the general fund, right, to pay. So we'd be kind of like supplementing general fund with the enterprise dollars.
Yes, Secretary Ringgold, would you like to answer that question?
Chair Schaefer, President Abeni, the Rec Plus program, it has some fees associated, but it's also property tax supported.
Yep.
And what this would do is it would take enterprise dollars in this year to cover this increase.
Yep.
So that we would allow for new revenue to be generated in the general fund to cover those fees. And then that money would go back to the enterprise fund in future years.
Yes, and so I would assume that the proportion of, well, I would hope so, that since Rec Plus expenses were greater, have become greater, or predicted to be greater, that without this amendment, but keeping this dollar amount in, proportionally in some way, some of that will be paid for by fees, but also some increases already coming from the general fund. That general fund line item to the Rec Plus program is already proposed to increase, right? I'm seeing nodding.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I guess the other thing is I'm not clear on this either. So I'm hearing that it's for 1 year. I totally get that. But how will this hole be plugged in the subsequent year in the general fund? I'm not clear on that. Is it a wish, a little bit of a wish, or is it a plan?
Secretary Ringgold, would you like to answer that?
Chair Schaefer, President Abeni. So one of the things that we've talked about in this budget cycle quite a bit is our intent to increase revenue within the general fund. We have a goal of 1 million this year, 1 million next year, and 1 million the year after. And so what we'd be looking at is those strategies around revenue increase would help offset the additional costs of Rec Plus.
So continuing then, I think that means that it's not a sure thing. It's still projecting using sources of revenue that aren't fully baked or guaranteed. Okay, it's true.
Commissioner Menz.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer, Chair Schaefer. What is the percentage of enrollment? So if we look at all the Rec Plus spaces, do we fill every single space? Are we 100%?
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz, yes, we are full to capacity at all locations.
And we don't anticipate losing any folks, or if we increase by increasing fees? Like, has there been attrition in past increases?
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz, to my knowledge, no, but I can also check, do some research and provide some more information on that piece.
To my colleagues, I'll be supporting this amendment. I think that, the enterprise fund is intended to raise revenue, but we're also trying to leverage public resources as much as we can to support affordability for families. And, it sort of makes a statement that we don't want these fees to increase. We want to make revenue. And I know we're under what other places are charging. But this can be an essential program, and where we can find affordability is important. So I appreciate Commissioner Alper bringing this amendment forward.
Commissioner Albert.
Yeah, I want to say that I worked with staff on this, and I recognize that many of the actions in the budget are not entirely guaranteed, whether it's like how much property taxes we recoup, we changed our percentage, we've moved it down this year. So I think this is, I would just like to say that based on my work with staff, that this is a likely scenario. It's not, I'm not saying let's raise $1 million in parking fees. That's not practical. So I think this, and the other thing too, just to respond to some comments here, is that this is a 1-year thing. This only for in 2026, it says it will just keep Rec Plus fees at 2025 rates. That's all this says. And so then it's up to the future board to decide what to do in future years. Right now, this resolution directs the increases in the enterprise fund, the funding revenue, the revenue increases to then go back and benefit the enterprise fund. So I hope you'll support it. Minnesota, according to my desktop research, has the 3rd highest childcare rates in the U.S., and I think affordability of reliable, quality childcare is something that speaks to the voters of Minneapolis and is an important topic.
Thank you. Is there any other comments around this particular amendment? I would just say that I really am appreciative of rec staff's initiatives in looking for other funding. And, I know that we're doing that across the organization, right, is to think of ways to reduce our reliance on property taxes. And I look forward to hearing, through the grapevine, what some of these government funding initiatives that you are looking at. And I hope that we can plan to increase our offerings of Rec Plus. And so I think this was a creative way. I will be supporting this. I think this is something that we can do for a stopgap year until we have this potential increase in these other government funding. So let us take this to the vote. All those in favor of this amendment put forward by Commissioner Alper, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
That motion passes 7-2. We will now move on to Commissioner Menz. And I will ask Commissioner Menz before you begin, would you still like to move all 3 of your amendments at once, or would you like to kind of break them up?
We can just go one at a time.
One at a time. Okay, you take it from here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chair Schaefer. So I do have 3 amendments for the board. I know that I've used this process in the past, and I'm hoping that these are some thoughtful ways to move forward. So in the approval of the deaccession of Pioneers Monument at BF Nelson Park, the MPRB allocates up to $100,000 from the Upper River Property Management Fund in year 2026 or 2027 to facilitate the removal of the structure from BF Nelson Park. MPRB shall work with partner agencies, other governmental units, or private donors to facilitate the remaining funds necessary for removal, deconstruction, or storage to ensure Pioneers Monument is removed from BF Nelson Park in 26 or 27. Is it appropriate for me to speak to this amendment at this time, Commissioner?
Absolutely.
Schaefer? Thank you. So one of the things is I would love to initially take a friendly amendment to, if anybody has a friendly amendment, to change the fund source to the Regional Park Amenity Fund. And I might call up Assistant Superintendent Michael Schroeder. I've been working with planning on this piece to find an appropriate source of funding that might not be as tenuous as the Upper River Property Management Fund. Initially, that is what I was considering as a source because that is where we acquire property along the riverfront, and I think that if something on our property is producing trauma, it might be an appropriate source. But the Regional Park Amenity Fund is probably a better source. Assistant Superintendent Schroeder, could you speak to that really quickly?
Chair Schaefer and Commissioner Menz, thank you. And it was a discussion with Commissioner Menz that led us to think about the Upper River Property Management Fund. But after talking further with my own staff, I just want to point out that if we have issues with other issues with properties that are not parkland, we don't have other sources of funds to address those. So I suggested that we look at other source, and the substitute fund, as mentioned by Commissioner Menz, is probably better for us. I'll also note that the deaccession process that was approved for Pioneers, even without a funding source, would direct us to look within our own resources to find funds to remove that. It's helpful at times to have funds directed to us, but even without this amendment, we would be obligated to find funds for to further the deaccession process for Pioneers.
Thank you. That's good to hear. I think that the reason for this amendment to the budget and finding this source is I think it's important that I've heard loud and clear from this board that we've done a lot of work around what we originally called Indigenous Reconciliation, Indigenous Action. We have Parks Liaison, we have a new Parks Council. But I think that action and sometimes funding, we have an opportunity to say, hey, we're willing to put in this amount, and maybe that can be leveraged with city resources because it's not going to be cheap to remove that structure. It also suggests ownership and obligation from this board for accepting that structure 15 to 20 years ago. I think it's an appropriate use of our funding, and it doesn't impact our budget necessarily besides taking from the Regional Park Amenity Fund. I welcome questions. I hope you can support this amendment.
Commissioner, Vice President Musich.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. Given the huge amount of amenity needs within the regional park system and what I believe will be pretty good opportunity to find outside funds to perform this action, I won't be supporting this amendment.
Thank you, Vice President Musich. Any other comments around this particular amendment? President Abene.
One thing I do find kind of compelling about I think the feedback from Assistant Superintendent Schroeder is that the resolution that we actually adopted tonight on the main agenda to remove the statue or to begin to decommission it or whatever requires the staff to pursue that action. And so the staff will recommend funds. And I'm hearing that this is not the recommended source of dollars for that activity. I think this board might be better off, and I don't know if there's time in this year we already adopted that resolution, maybe have put some kind of a deadline on that removal. And I don't know if there's an opportunity to bring that back, but, not something like tomorrow, but maybe something in calendar year 2026. I don't know. But I think that it will happen. And I don't think I want to force the issue by choosing a source of dollars that maybe the staff isn't wild about us choosing.
Thank you, President Abeni. Commissioner Menz.
I think the space that it's put into the Upper River Property Management Fund that I listed on the public agenda, if I could accept or make a friendly amendment to my own budget amendment to change that to the Regional Park Amenity Fund, I'm hearing from staff that that's not necessarily impeding that. And I do think that it says a lot to other governmental units who might need to put money into this project that we are dedicating and saying that we're invested here. And the resolution that we passed may do that. But I think that this says something different and gets the ball rolling a lot faster and ensures that we have some money allocated, because there might be partners. It doesn't obligate us to that money. It just provides that leverage from board approval.
So Commissioner Menz, am I hearing you correctly that you would like to amend your amendment? If that is the case, we're going to need to suspend the board rules and change the language that you'd like to change.
I would like to make can we make a motion to suspend the rules? I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Is there a
Second.
second? Second? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of suspending the rules to include, can you please detail what you'd like to include?
To just change the source of the funds.
From the,
Upper River Property Management to the Regional Park Amenity
are
Fund.
you reducing it then to the 50K versus 100K?
There was no discussion of reducing the amount from 100K to 50K.
I don't think there's more than 50K in the Regional Park Amenity Fund. Can someone help? I'm calling for a vowel. What is the amount in the Regional Park Amenity Fund? I thought it was 50K. I could be wrong.
Chair Schaefer, we allocate $50,000 per year to that fund, but that fund is currently carrying a balance of approximately $228,000.
228. Okay. So Commissioner Menz, please clarify what you'd like to do.
Simply change the language from Upper River Property Management Fund to Regional Park Amenity Fund.
Okay, we have a motion to suspend the rules. So all those in favor of allowing this change to be made in the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. That motion carries. Okay. Any other further question on the amendment as amended for Commissioner Menz? I see no lights. All those in favor, oh, I'm sorry. Vice President Musich.
Thank you. In my time on the board, we've spent a lot of time trying to allocate monies over time to achieve things that we can't ever find the monies to do on an annual basis. This includes investments not only in regional park amenities, which we're talking about taking money away from this evening, but things like buildings for our maintenance staff or facilities to store our equipment in. They're things that are not necessarily going to have champions pushing for them. When we do things like this, taking money away for something that is a new and pressing, urgent need in the moment, we are telling every other board, you were wrong, you shouldn't have put that money aside, you should have spent it, because no one's going to respect the decision you're making to plan for the future. I don't believe we should be doing that. It defeats the purpose of creating those funds and allocating that money annually, because it instead of doing what it's intended to do, it creates a slush fund for commissioners to use when we get to budget time. It's a terrible financial practice, and I won't be supporting this.
Commissioner Menz.
If we're thinking about these as regional park amenities, and some citizens cannot go to those spaces because this is a pressing thing, and I get it that we don't want to allocate those funds. if the planning department finds other sources, or we find other sources, those are still available. That doesn't, it forces the issue and shows that we have some investment here to remove this. I know that the community feels very important that we do that. I'm concerned that it won't happen. So without board action moving forward.
I'll just make a couple comments if no one else. I'm sorry, Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with Vice President Musich that I feel like we're jumping the gun here. And it's not a matter that I disagree with finding some funds for it, but I feel as if, first of all, we just have voted on approving the accession. And so the direction is already given. And, you know, finding the source of funds is what staff is there and knows how to best approach it. So I feel as if this is an inappropriate action at this point in time, although I understand the sensitivity that, yes, we want to make sure it happens. So I'm sorry, I won't be supporting this particular amendment.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. I do not see any further lights on, unless Commissioner Menz, you're okay. I had just final couple comments. I would just say that I totally believe we need to move forward on this as quick as possible. I also, as a member of the St. Anthony Falls Heritage Board, do know there's tremendous interest in that organization of supporting this process in any way possible. And I would like us to move forward with an opportunity that we can present to partners as a team spirit of this is the total cost that it's going to do to move it. This is our commitment, this is your commitment, to open it up for other sources to give to this process. It was really the St. Anthony Falls Heritage Board that really encouraged us to move this along, and members of that board. And so they have a strong interest in this actually happening. So I am sure they're going to be knocking on our door and would actually probably even want to contribute to this. The other thing I would like to just mention in passing, that this will take some tribal input. This process is not something that we are going to decide on our own exactly what's going to happen to this and where it's going to go and what the next steps are. So I would like to continue to put these funds, these regional park amenity funds, because I have playgrounds in the regional park system that have no way to be replaced because there's not enough money in the regional park fund to replace. I have two around Bede-Makaska that are about 20 years old, one of them very dangerous, you know, the old wire metal pipe one by the north side of the lake. So I will not be supporting this because I think we have an opportunity to share the process with the tribal and give them time to process this, and then to bring others along to link arms and really make a strong statement that this is not who we are and this is what we're going to change. And then in the meantime, put the funds that we have to work immediately for some of these other areas that are prime needs for us. But I wholeheartedly agree with moving this forward, and I appreciate, Commissioner Menz, your passion around this and desire as the commissioner for this area. If there are not any further comments, I would like to take this amendment to a vote. All those in favor of this amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
No.
All those against this amendment, please say nay.
Nay.
Secretary Ringgold, would you like us to take a roll call vote?
Can I get,
Yes,
can I get a
please.
roll call?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
President DeBenny,
Nay.
Commissioner Elper,
Aye.
Commissioner Forney,
Nay.
Commissioner Menz,
Aye.
Commissioner Olson,
Nay.
Commissioner Rucker,
Nay.
Commissioner Turner,
Nay.
Vice Chair Musich,
Nay.
Chair Schaefer.
Nay.
You have 2 ayes and 7 nays.
That amendment fails. Commissioner Menz, would you like to introduce the next
Yes, I
one?
have another amendment. My amendment is to add a parking rate and infrastructure to Parade Ice Garden of $1 an hour, with all proceeds being used to support the added infrastructure necessary. This action is cost neutral as the installation of parking collection will be recouped with the parking rates in 26-27. In addition, the $20 Parade Ice Garden Pass would be available to consumers to avoid the hourly rate. Any revenue raised from this venture would go to supporting maintenance and capital investments of Northeast Ice Arena, Parade Ice Garden, or a future refrigerated rink at North Commons Park, or other board-approved location through the enterprise fund of the MPRB budget. So we've been, I'm in the habit of there being seconds and stuff, so, I brought this up many times. I think it's probably time for us to add a parking rate there. If I have to pay maybe now $2 an hour to go run at Boom Island, I think it's appropriate for visitors from outside of this community for sure to pay $1 an hour at one of our most premier facilities in the system. And especially since around the corner, we pay $4 for a flat rate at the ball field down there. So I'm trying to get infrastructure into Parade Ice Garden. I know that some folks will, be upset, but maybe this helps us prevent raising ice fees in the future. I think there's a great opportunity to collect funds from parking from people visiting Minneapolis parks and really put a high value on the space that we're providing for that service.
Thank you. Commissioner Musich, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. I see no mention in this amendment of the cost of implementation of a new pay parking facility. Do we know what that will cost?
I'd like to ask Assistant Superintendent Olson or
This
Director
is my
Olson.
time. Thank you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, Director Olson, if you have the ability, can you shed any light on what the cost of implementation with this amendment would be?
Good evening again, Commissioners, Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Musich. I wasn't prepared to answer this question as I didn't realize this was coming forward. However, generally a pay station, just the hardware, is roughly $7,000. There is a monthly and an annual software cost per unit. We also have the maintenance contract that this board passed. It might have been one board meeting or two ago, that includes a payment per meter that is installed, meter being the parking kiosk in any given lot. The parking lot at Parade, based on, I was there last night. I don't know how we would probably need more than 1 meter in that lot if we were going to meter the spaces effectively and provide a customer experience that was usable. I can't speak to the cost of the potential electrical boring needs. We may be able to do a solar unit there, depending on where we put them. The initial installation for, let's say, 2 could probably cost somewhere around, this is total ballpark, maybe $15,000. That doesn't necessarily include the labor costs through trades and asset management, helping with our parking staff. It's a long answer to your short question. I apologize. I was doing the math.
Thank you for
as
trying
I
to do some
talked.
back of the envelope math on the fly. I'm
Yeah.
sorry you were not consulted in advance. So given that this has not totally fleshed out costs associated with it, and we already have a budget deficit in the enterprise fund that we potentially grew this evening by hoping that we're going to bring in more money, I won't be able to support this amendment. Thank you.
Commissioner Menz?
I thought that there was a time where we were given a budget with $31,000 to install parking meters, and I'm wondering, Director Olson, why you think that there would be a need for more than one station there if everybody's going into the facility for ice? Then how do they?
Sure.
Chair Schaefer.
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz. remember the 31,000. At Minnehaha Park, it's a busy place. We see queuing. We see people who are standing in lines, which is why we've installed more meters at that location in the main lot. The main lot at Minnehaha Park, roughly, is a similar size to that as that at Parade Ice Garden. For a better customer experience, so you don't have people standing in line queuing, I would recommend doing more than one in that lot if we were going to install parking kiosks in the lot, based on the number of spaces and the attendance that could come, especially during maybe like a high school game, a skating show, a tournament, things like that. I mean, the lots can fill, and then people are coming into the space all at once. So if we wanted to collect the payment, it would probably make it a better customer experience if we had more than one station for doing that.
Thank you.
Director Olson, I had one other question. Why have we had can you give any background on why we haven't had any paid parking at Parade in the past?
Yeah, Chair Schaefer, I can. Staff have done research in the state of Minnesota, state of hockey. There are four ice arenas, I believe, that charge for parking. Xcel Energy Center, now Grand Casino Arena, I think is what it's called. Mariucci Arena, adjacent lots there are pay. The Amsoil Arena in Duluth, and I believe there could be a pay parking option at the St. Cloud State Ice Arena, the Herb Brooks Ice Center there. All of those are host to Division I or professional level hockey. So based on the research that staff had done and understanding the use patterns of these ice arenas, where especially in the area of hockey, where teams in a given competitive district are coming to each other's ranks for those district games. It was a staff recommendation that teams that are coming are not being assessed a fee when our teams are not being assessed a fee, vice versa. That was more of a customer experience recommendation. Additionally, the complexity of providing passes for the users, the local users of our arenas, posed challenging when staff were considering it in the past. We have multiple associations, multiple user groups, multiple renters, long-term renters, and it's hard to identify who is a home user and how that would all work out. That's just a staff assessment.
Would there be any impact on renting of ice time? In your mind of adding parking fees?
I may want to defer to my colleague, Director Barsh, who oversees ice arenas, but because I think he'd be better to speak to both of those questions, actually.
Welcome, Director Barsh.
Chair Schaefer, I can't say for certain. I think we would lose users, specifically men's groups, like the later evening groups, and some of our day users, because there would be other options.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Ringgold.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. I wanted to mention that this amendment includes the North Commons, the future North Commons Ice Arena, and there has not been a determination at this point whether that is enterprise or general fund, and so I just want to note that if it is general fund, then we would probably be looking for general fund resources for that amenity versus enterprise.
Commissioner Menz.
Thank you for noting that, Secretary Ringgold. That was intentional, to suggest that maybe that future item would be in the enterprise fund, because it would be able to be a regional amenity or citywide amenity. I think that we're looking for funding sources, we're looking for revenue, and I've said this many times, this is a place where we can get some revenue. And I know that Director Barsh, he's not certain. The ice time is very, very valuable. And we keep increasing the ice time. We are alienating the groups, too, by increasing the ice time. So it's a balance. I mean, it's all trying to get more money for the services and the facilities. We consistently are under and in the negative with Northeast Ice Arena. Where are the solutions that we are finding to supplement these enterprise-funded ventures? So if it's not Parade Ice Garden, where is it coming from? And it can't just come from the users who permit the facilities. So if we can capture regional dollars, we should do it. So I would encourage you to support this amendment with the faith that it's going to make enough money to get back the installation costs, and could be something that would be a revenue generator for the future as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Menz. We're going to go to Vice President Musich, and
Thank
then
you.
I'm going to have some direction for us.
I would just note to my colleagues that the way that this amendment is written, no funds will be dedicated to implementation. They will all be put into an account that's going to be supporting these other things that the funds are being designated for. So this feels to me like something we should have been fleshing out much earlier in the budget season if there was support on the board to do so, and not trying to figure out at the last minute from the dais.
Thank you, Vice President Musich. Commissioner Albert.
Yes, thanks. Commissioner Menz or staff, was there an estimate of how much this could raise in revenue? That's a good question. I'd appreciate that information before voting.
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Alper, I don't have an estimate at this time. I'd have to do some math.
Well, I would like to ask, and this is in the spirit of good faith, because I think I would like to support this. However, I do not think that, I think we could improve this amendment, and I'm wondering, Commissioner Menz, if you would be willing to pull this and detail in a budget format like we typically do the expenses of installation, the potential value of what we might anticipate in revenue, so that we as a board could get a sense of what are the financial trade-offs from the get-go. That's what I would love to see, if you would be willing to take this back and vote on it in the full board on the 10th. I would like your input into that.
I mean, that's fine. We can do that. I can also just pull the amendment. I mean, I have asked for this information in the past. Maybe I haven't done it in the way that's appropriate, but I don't think that this is a complete surprise. We have been given budget allocations or estimations as to how much we would rate, how much it costs. So I can try and find those numbers and see if it makes sense to come back to the full board, and I would appreciate that opportunity at the December 9th meeting. But for now, we can just pull the amendment.
Well, I think that's our most fiscally responsible way forward. I'd also like to have more information on the $20 an hour. I think that's a great idea, but I would like to understand the staff time cost around that a little bit, about what that would be. But I do think there's an opportunity for revenue there, and we just want to make sure that we're being thoughtful in how we roll that out. All right, thank you for pulling that amendment, and more to come from Commissioner Menz on that.
One last amendment.
Yes.
And thank you for hearing this amendment. So I've been working, and Assistant Superintendent Schroeder will know that this has been something that we've been working on over the time, but it never seems to get the light of day. I'd like to allocate up to $20,000 to support the planning and implementation of a dog park at Northeast Park adjacent to the parking lot on 14th Avenue and along Pierce Street. This action takes resources from planning to change 2 to 3 long-range plans in an effort to get the Northeast community an additional and strategically placed dog park in the service area on a piece of land that is readily available. This allocation would be used from the funds allocated to Logan or Beltrami Park, ideally Beltrami, for the dog park long-range plan for that park, as they are geographically close. Background on this amendment is Audubon Park has in its long-range plan for a dog park, or maybe it's been finally amended out. We did not invest in that, we just invested money at Audubon Park. So, but that dog park was not necessarily the best location anyway from the 2019 East of the River plan, as it was geographically the closest park to the current dog park in Northeast, which is at the golf course. Beltrami Park does have a dog park put into its plan. There's a spot at Northeast Park. The complication of getting 2 or 3, because we need amendments to not master plans, long-range plans, to do this according to what planning has told me. So I'm trying to find some allocation of maybe Director Arvidsson can speak to this, of plan implementation dollars that are sometimes used with the CIP, how we rearrange that funding to support this amenity, which would be an additional amenity that we have long-range plan for, but in places that it's not going to be realistic.
Thank you, Director Arvidsson.
Thank you. So I can clarify, Director Arvidsson. So how hard is it to take this amendment and say that it's going to move money from Beltrami Park's NPP 20 money to this implementation, because it would benefit Beltrami Park as well, and it's an amenity from that park?
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz, I probably need to also ask for a few clarifications around this amendment so that I can operationalize it should it pass. I'll try to answer the question simply, which is that in order to move funding from Beltrami to Northeast, that would require an amendment to a past CIP, because the Beltrami money is in 2025. So usually those are done, that would be like a separate standalone resolution that would come forward. It wouldn't be a part of this budget, because this is looking at 2026 going forward. Logan Park, because you mentioned it, is funded in 2027, and so that money could be shifted to Northeast Park within this budget context. But I'm perhaps unclear about what the $20,000 is exactly for. Are we reopening a community engagement process to consider amendments? Or is the commissioner interested in just amending those plans sort of from the dais in front of us today? I'm not sure what we would do with the $20,000.
So we install temporary amenities in parks that aren't on the long-range plan. We have done that in the past, is that correct?
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz, that is correct. On occasion, we have done that.
So what is the process for the future board then, if this does not pass, that we don't amend these plans from the dais, as you say? What is the process for us to re-identify a location for this amenity in Northeast Minneapolis in a more strategically based location, because the funding for both of those spaces where the dog parks were going to be put in was passed over?
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz, to clarify, there's a dog park planned at Beltrami Park, and that funding is still available, and that project has not been implemented. So a dog park could be still implemented at Beltrami Park with funding that was allocated in 2025. That project has not initiated yet, so we have not gone through the community engagement to scope that project. It is still a possibility that a dog park could be implemented there according to the long-range plan. Northeast Park doesn't have an allocation for a significant period of time, and Logan Park in 2027, as you noted, does not have a dog park in its long-range plan.
So what would be the process for the community or the commissioners to change that Beltrami plan to fit this other location that might be more amenable to the community?
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz, sometimes it's helpful to say the names. I give myself a minute to stall to think of the answer to the question. Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz, I'm maybe hearing two things. One option, if the board wished to compel staff to include the dog park in the Beltrami plan implementation project that is forthcoming, the board could do that by amending this CIP to simply say plan implementation to include dog park on that line of the CIP. The board, I believe this board has done that, boards have done that in the past where they have further refined the project as described within the CIP. So that is one option to ensure that a dog park is built at Beltrami. If the question is to reassess with the community the appropriate location for a dog park, then the commissioners would want to essentially direct the superintendent to reopen an engagement process around that topic. Seeing these amendments today, that option would read something to the effect of resolved that the Board of Commissioners amends, sorry, that's the wrong one. Resolved that the Board of Commissioners directs the superintendent to initiate a reconsideration of the long-range plans for Northeast, Beltrami, and Logan to determine a desired location for an off-leash dog park without reconsideration of any other elements of these long-range plans, or you could strike that piece, but something to that effect would essentially direct the superintendent to reopen a community engagement process. That will cost more than $20,000.
Wouldn't that community engagement process be being opened anyway with the 2025 implementation of Beltrami funds?
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz, that's correct. It certainly would. But during that community engagement process, we wouldn't discuss Northeast Park with the community as a normal course of that engagement. It would be focused on implementations within Beltrami Park.
And just so my fellow commissioners understand this process that I'm helping us go through, and I'm sorry that it's taking so long. This space is 1 to 2 blocks from Beltrami Park, and we have giant trees in Beltrami Park. I do not think that this is something that the community necessarily wants at that space, but it is something that that community wants in that very close proximity neighborhood. So we can shut me off, but I would, Director Arvidsson, if there is a way for me to word this appropriately to accomplish this goal for the Northeast community, I think it would be really welcome, and I think that there is a way to do that. I'm not skilled enough to do that at this point. I would love your help in providing something very clear for the board at the December 9th meeting.
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Menz, I've provided some possible options to organizational leadership earlier this morning, and I expect those could be in kind of kernels of perhaps what you're trying to do. There's several different possibilities there because I was trying to understand what the intent of the resolution was.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your answering the questions, Director Arvidsson. I can withdraw this amendment, and I'll work with the staff to see if there's one that comes forward at the December 9th meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Menz. I just want to make sure, President Abeni, you still have your light on. Do you have anything you'd further like to say about this particular amendment since it's been withdrawn?
Yes, I would just say that, and it was sort of just said, but if the community engagement, I wouldn't want this to, I mean, we haven't done amending of adopted long-range plans. This board hasn't done that. And also, if Beltrami is going into community engagement anyway, there's no reason, since a dog park is on the table at that location, the staff could learn that maybe there is a preferred location without directly trying to focus exclusively on the dog park, but I would imagine it's going to come up. So I don't know, you know, again, if it's not documented anywhere, it just seems like a real leap here for us to do something in this case, when there's already adopted community engagement plans that show a dog park in a specific location in this general area, so.
Thank you, President Abeni, and thank you, Commissioner Menz, for that action. And you know, we will look to what happens next week and getting your feedback at that point. Commissioner Turner.
Okay, so this is my first time doing this, so boo. So I think I need to suspend the rules because I have questions for Board Secretary Ringgold.
You don't need to suspend the
So
rules
I can
to
just
ask
go ahead
questions.
and,
Yep,
cool.
go
Okay,
ahead.
so before I get into the amendment, I have questions regarding the term deficit regarding the enterprise fund. So I'm wondering around, is it projected?
Point of
2000
order, before we start discussion or questions, we must have a valid something before us to debate. So are you making a motion to amend the agenda?
Yes, would you like to move your amendment? And then ask the questions would be the proper order.
Okay, I can do that.
Just maybe read the title and move it, and then begin your questions.
So read the full thing?
No,
or-
just whatever, maybe just the title.
That's why I wanted to
Yeah.
suspend the rules, but that's okay. Okay, so this is the 2026 Park Police Staffing Amendment, and I have questions before I read the full thing. Am I able to ask my questions now?
Yes, you may. Did you move the, you've moved it?
And I'll move the amendment.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So when it comes to the projected 2026 enterprise fund deficit, is it structural or temporary, and what specifically is driving the deficit?
Sorry. Chair Schaefer and Commissioner Turner, there are really two clear things driving it right now. One of them is that we are anticipating a change in concessions at Waterworks. So Wamney will be leaving in March. We have to do an RFP to find a new concessionaire, and we anticipate some loss during that time. And we value that loss at this point at $190,000. The other piece that we're seeing within the enterprise budget is that our fee increases are not keeping up with wage and materials. And so that we're hoping is temporary. It could be structural, but it's a situation that we have to keep our eye on. So that's the remaining portion of it is really around wages and materials.
Okay, one more, then I'll do my amendment. Has the enterprise fund historically supported one-time operational or startup costs during deficit years? And if so, what precedent exists for that practice?
Chair Schaefer and Commissioner Turner, the enterprise fund has had ups and downs over time. There were times where we had made many poor choices for the enterprise fund and really gotten to the point where there was no investment happening within the amenities within the enterprise fund. And that looked a lot like either long-term or short-term removals of funding from that fund to augment the general fund. One of the most prominent examples is actually the Neiman Fields. So for a long time, we were pulling money out of the enterprise fund to cover the debt for Neiman Fields. That's probably one of the biggest ones. There have been smaller ones since about 2013 when we revisited the whole enterprise fund and tried to pull things out that weren't truly money makers and keep the things in that we thought could cover the costs of themselves. There have been small pulls here and there for programming or other topics during that time, but nothing significant or long-term since that time. It might be worthwhile for me to just take a moment to really share that anything that we put into the enterprise fund comes at the benefit of the general fund, because we were pulling it off of the tax rolls is essentially what we're doing. So at your desk, I can pull it up for a presentation as well if folks at home or in the audience want to see it.
Yeah, yes, Secretary Ringgold, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay.
Or Director Wiseman, whomever would appreciate that.
This is a little primer on the enterprise fund, just to help out as you all are making some decisions here. I won't hit this slide too hard. I will say that there are aspects of our system that have been revenue makers for quite a while. And in most recently, the parking system was added in the 1980s. In about 2013, we did a major rehaul of the enterprise system, pulling out the things that we knew weren't going to make money. some of the biggest things we've been trying to do is trying to limit kind of the extent to which we use enterprise dollar to address short time or long time general fund items. And we've been trying to address the lack of a capital program within the enterprise fund. The goal of the enterprise fund is that the assets that are within it are fully funded by the enterprise fund. So the staff, the facilities, the utilities, all of the operating costs associated with it. We have a few categories, which is the waterworks area and the sculpture garden, that we call them micro enterprises, and we actually want them to fund themselves within that geographic area specifically. I'll quickly hit this slide, just so folks are also aware that we have facilities in our system where there are fees associated with them, but they are not intended to fund themselves. The ones in the box are the ones that are intended to fund themselves completely. When we look at this map, everything that's in purple is something that the Minneapolis taxpayer does not pay for. This is funded through the fees that are associated with the fund and the activities within that fund. So when we start talking about something where we're maybe 350,000, or at some point maybe we're 600,000 or 700,000 over that we're not able to hit that budget, we have to start asking ourselves which amenities that do we pull out of the enterprise fund and put into the general fund and increase property taxes in order to do that. So that's kind of the relationships. So anything that we can get to be fee supported in the enterprise fund means we don't have to ask taxpayers to fund that. And we make about $17 million in this fund. So we talk a lot about the revenue that we make in the general fund, which is about $10 million. As a board, you are making about $27 million a year in fees. 17 of it actually completely supports the assets that are within it. There's a pretty significant staff load within the enterprise fund. This slide shows you all of the staff by title that we hire to support the facilities within the enterprise fund. This includes several different bargaining groups. We have AFSCME in this group, we have LIUNA in this group, we have trades in this group, we have 49ers in this group. So we have several different collective bargaining groups who have staff who are funded out of the enterprise fund. We don't play with different employment rules in that space. It's still, they're civil service and they're paid at the wages that are negotiated. When we talk about kind of the loss versus income within the enterprise fund, when we look at 2026, when you look at that far right column, you can see that we have several different categories of either income or loss based by the kind of the major categories of work within the fund. You can see we have debt service. So we actually pay debt for service out of this fund primarily for the sculpture, or for the ice arena at Parade. We have to pay some of the MRF payments for pension. And then we have our capital improvement program. Capital improvement program is where we probably have the biggest amount of wiggle room within this fund, but that is what all of those things combined is where we end up with a $350,000 loss in that fund for that year, which means it'll come out of, if we're not able to fill it, like if we're not able to make more revenue next year to kind of shore that up, it'll come out of the reserve and eventually impact the capital program. This is in your third quarter financial report. I won't go into that in a lot of detail at the moment, but this is where you can look to see how this year things are performing. And you can see that this year we're anticipating a slight increase into that reserve of about $89,000. So our current expenses in this last year ended up looking like they're going to be pretty much on target with kind of a combination of the revenues and the expenses. We are really proud. In 2013, there was no capital program for this. This enterprise fund was bleeding in many ways in terms of being able to right-size itself. We are now to the point where several years now, you all have been able to approve a capital program. We're starting to see investments going into golf courses. We're being able to take care of roofs that are failing. We're being able to repave paths where we're holding events. We're able actually to start putting resources into that enterprise, those enterprise assets, all of those pieces that were in the purple on that previous map. I hope that provides the context if there's any further questions, but that kind of lays out what that deficit component is and kind of what this fund is actually doing within our system.
Thank you.
Commissioner Turner, would you like to read part of your amendment or a portion of it? It's up to you, or you don't have to read it. We have it here. Or if you'd have any further comments on it. Do you have anything to say before I begin calling on people for questions?
Yeah, I want to pull it.
Okay. And do you want to just share a little bit about why you've made that decision? I think that would be helpful for all of us to hear.
I want to pull it because I think that it's important for us to understand intent versus impact. And the intention is there in terms of understanding why park police are needed when it comes to facilities being built in our systems. However, I would have liked maybe to flesh it out a little bit more in terms of which fund would make me feel a little bit better from pulling from.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
That's my reasoning for pulling.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. And that is always the painful thing about amendments to a budget, right? I mean, if you're adding or reprioritizing, then there has to be somewhere that comes from. So thank you for that feedback. I will move this last amendment. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You have it before you. But I would like to speak to my funding source in light of the testimony that was given here tonight. I understand that cutting 3 trainee positions is not ideal. I mean, park keepers are the foundation of our system. Maintenance is very important to me. I hear that every day from the people that are in the parks. They talk to the workers in the parks and tell them thank you. So I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules in order to change the funding on this particular budget amendment. I would like to, first of all, speak to the amendment generally, and then share what those funding changes. I have 2 options, and then make a motion to suspend the rules and have some discussion about which option may be more palatable to the commissioners, if either of them. My spirit in bringing this forward was simply a response to the question that I asked earlier in the budget process. What has been the history of our hiring of officers and in our park police department? And I was shocked. We all can see the report. It's online with that data. This is concrete data. What I have not figured out and taken the time to find out yet, but I will, whether this passes or not, is how much acreage has our park system actually expanded? And maybe we do know that from either the last 25 years or maybe whatever period of time we might have some handle on. But then also the crime incidents that were listed, direct data from Chief Ohado, between going from 9,400 incidences in 2019 to 13,500 incidences in 2025. That is a 44% increase. We want to make sure that all of our employees have a work environment that is sustainable. And I think if we put a 44% increase on some of our other workers, it would be unsustainable. And so this is why I am bringing it forward for a discussion. In particular, Upper Harbor will be opening this year, and in 2027, we will be hosting 52 events regularly in our park system in Upper Harbor Terminal. We all know that the need for park police for traffic control on these events will be there, and this will impact our staffing. This means we will have to pay more overtime for our officers, and this will put us at greater risk for incidents of concern with our officers. So this is why I'm bringing it forward. I feel like we need to, one of the things I hear again and again is safety in our parks is of utmost priority. And so that looks like a lot of different things, and we are doing a good job in exploring a lot of different alternative ways to deal with safety in our parks, including infrastructure that doesn't, bike paths that don't cut right through the middle of the garden so the school kids get hit. We're trying to think about safety across the board, but we cannot forget about our park police department. It is equally as important as these other areas. And so that is why I'm bringing this forward. And so there you have it. I would like to maybe, before I move on to the funding sources, just does Superintendent Bangora, if you could speak a little bit, if this is a need that you see at this point in time.
Chair Schaefer and Commissioners, yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. You said it very well. This has been, since I've been in 2019, it's been a real challenge to increase our police within our organization. There is no question, Chief Ohado, and we worked very hard to get to our current 35 officers. You've seen the data that we know we can go back how many years to see that we haven't been in that position for many, many years. We are now just trying to break even at 35. But you are correct when you speak to, and so I want to say we've been addressing those vacancies and working hard, but we are struggling to keep up with the demands of this organization, of what is required for us to provide services to our constituents and the needs of safety. We can quote all the data that comes out around safety, and like you just quoted before, increase in the responsibility of our officers to deal with increased crime levels. I can quote and I can speak directly to not only we talk about car break-ins, right, that happen at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning at our facilities. I can speak to the Stone Arch Bridge example, where we need officers because we have incidents that happen between 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning before officers get here, as an example, across our system. We do not have the capacity for officers to be in those spaces at that time. In fact, MPD's even stretched with that, and they say we can't even do it. We're struggling just to be able to provide those services within our parks that are in great need for our organization. Upper Harbor was clearly a very clear example. The amount of times that we have to have officers within the Upper Harbor to provide services there is going to pull officers into that space, and we already are stretched beyond our capacity. Overtime is going, we're stretching our officers to provide services, and they are working extremely hard to fill those times. But then we're looking at overtime and officers who need a break and need a mental break sometimes, and it's been very hard for our officers. I speak to them and I know them and I know how hard they work to do incredible work within our parks. So I know that we're looking at also the pressures that are coming from MPD or from our city partners around investigations. More of that is now being pushed over to our department, investigating. We do not have the capacity for that, but we're required now to do more investigation. We need someone to be able to carry that load and that burden to be able to do investigations within our organization, within the crime and things that happen within the park system. And also, as I mentioned before, as we looked at sort of that third shift, being able to respond to an organization that when we have things within 7,100 acres of land, that we're responding to things that are happening at a time that we get a lot of calls on, that we're not working at that time. MPD is responding to those calls or they can't respond to them. So we know the safety and the needs that are required. We've had people speak here specifically to the needs of our parks and the safety of our parks. I'm incredibly proud of our record of our park safety, but we can't ignore level 1 crimes, level 2 crimes, and things that occur and that our officers have to respond to. We have worked very hard also putting CCVP, Community Connections and Violence Prevention. They're out there working hand in hand with our officers. We've been very, very focused on making sure that we have that are dealing with trauma and empathy and responding to community needs, whether it's homelessness, whether it's a child in need, whether the schools are requiring access to that. So we have a department that's doing incredible work. They're working with the city. But our officers, and we're grateful for that, but our officers are really dealing with some very, very difficult situations, and they are stretched tremendously. So I appreciate this board and Chair Schaefer bringing this forward as an issue, because it is something that has been concerning. Obviously, Chief Ohado and I work very closely together. We need officers to respond to the needs of our park system as we would within forestry, environmental services, within recreation, within any department that we need. As we increase those levels and we look at system equity investment, right? That's the piece that we have to have these officers to respond to those places, as we do for every department. But our officers in police have not had that attention for many years. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to it. I am supportive of whatever this board decides to do. You know, I'm speaking strictly just to operational and the needs of our police departments. We need that, so thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Commissioner Turner.
I'm wondering if it's ever been brought forward to tie positions to whether it's land or whether it's acreage in terms of how the system continues to build out. A part of what I was thinking about with sustainability is when we tie it to FTEs, it can get a little bit tricky, and it could be sometimes, and I know that through this process, learning that officers are permanent positions, but maybe in terms of thinking about how you build on safety, how do you tie it to something that can be sustainable? That's all that I'm wondering. I don't know if that's a question, maybe it's a comment, but that's something that hopefully the future board thinks about. Like, how are you intentional with making sure that with us putting up these pretty buildings, how are you making sure that safety is something that is looked at in terms of making sure that the officers are a part of that addition to the buildings?
Secretary Ringgold, would you like to?
Chair Schaefer, Commissioner Turner, so one of the things that we've been doing, I want to say for maybe the last 5 or 6 years, looking to Director Wiseman, she's giving me the head nod. We've started implementing something that we call system equity investment. So as we've been adding in facilities, we have a need to increase the staffing to accompany those facilities. And we've been successful for many years of being able to get the additional programming staff, the additional asset management staff, and now we're also in the future looking at what are the additional police officer needs that we need as well. And there's kind of a whole complement of, as we're getting more and more sophisticated in how we think about this, we start thinking about the auxiliary types of positions that go along with it. Like I said, we're about 5 or 6 years into it. We still have some distance to go, but that is our intent of trying to just not take existing resources and spread them over the additional facilities that are coming into the system.
Vice President Musich.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. I don't believe a motion's been made to suspend the rules, so I'm going to speak to the motion as it exists currently. Is that accurate?
I think we're going to change the funding options, but speak to the motion if it excludes the funding in the motion, in the amendment.
I touch upon funding, but not the specific sources, so this will stand no matter what you change it to. Earlier this year, when we started talking about the budget, back in April or May, or whenever that was, we talked about the need to make system equity investment adds to staff. We talked about how it would need to be a critical part of our budgeting process. Throughout the entire budgeting process, we have fleshed that out, we've built upon it. President Abeni and I worked really hard to get the BET to give us the money we needed to get those positions added to the budget. When this amendment came through is probably the first time the public realized that there might be a need for an additional add to the police force. If that was something that was truly necessary to have happen as part of that, we really should have been talking about it back in April. So it could be a very transparent piece, not just with the board itself and our staff and the public and all the people that were asking to support us in our ask for money. Yeah, I feel like it's a bit too late in the process, honestly, to do this. I'm glad that the work's been done. It's setting a really solid foundation for a more robust conversation as the next board builds the 27 budget to determine how many officers do we need to support the system equity investments that we've made. What other changes might be needed that we didn't think about when we were building out the system equity investments, so that that conversation can be had over a longer period of time than how long we've been talking about it now. I was going to say Monday, but you did bring this up at a previous meeting that you were looking into it. You started building that case, but I mean, I'm only getting emails today from people that saw something somewhere on the internet saying, the park board's adding park police. Why has no one talked to me about this? So that makes this something I cannot support. Additionally, like the funding sources are a problem for me. And I would have liked to have more time with my colleagues to talk about priorities. Because I do think some of these things in here are a big priority for me, and I would be sad to lose them in exchange for adding more staff to the police force, particularly when you take into consideration some of the funding is one-time monies, and I just can never vote for something that's one-time monies for an ongoing expense. It's a budgeting practice that you should not engage in. It's not fiscally responsible. It's not an action that we as a body should be taking, because it's not sustainable. I would hate for us to bring people on board, to train them, to get them the equipment that they need to do their job, and then have to let them go because we don't have a way to fund that position.
Just to clarify, the funding in this current amendment is permanent. This is permanent funding. There's no one-time funding right here, just to clarify that. And I totally respect that this was something that should have been talked about earlier in the levy discussion, but I would never consider trying to shift that up at this point with the levy. We have made a commitment to the city council on what we're going to spend on that levy money. So yes, we cannot all of a sudden put 2 police officers in my opinion. That would not be the appropriate path forward.
May I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
The Regional Park Capital Project Fund, General Fund, et cetera, that would be one-time monies you're taking it from?
It would be $100,000 permanently from the O&M regional lottery funding to go to the general fund to support park officers in regional parks.
Okay, if someone's keeping track, how many other amendments that we passed tonight are also taking money out of O&M?
None.
None? Oh, right, I'm sorry. There might be something coming forward, future designating money at a future, at our next meeting. Thank you for the clarification, I appreciate that.
Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to remind everybody that the number one priority that staff presented in this budget was our employees. And I know that this whatever amendment and everything is possibly not dealing with park keepers, but I just really, really want to make sure that everybody realizes that, to me, that has been priority number one all along. And particularly the gentlemen that are standing in the back, I just want you to know that is my commitment. We will not be touching that. I think that the broader conversation, which I think Vice President Musich is bringing up, is we have a structural issue here. And system equity investment, I appreciate hearing that there is a tracking of how we're going to deal with that. To me, the other intriguing thing, though, is that in a lot of ways, we will continue to grow this system. That is what the parkland dedication fees are about. And it's, to me, in some ways unfortunate that we didn't tie, as the growth of the system happens, that all of these needs are not automatically being introduced. So I encourage then the next board to look at both of these, system equity investment and the parkland dedication fee, to address this gap. It's a huge gap. We need safety in our parks. I mean, just fundamental things like police officers are needed wherever, there's alcohol. As the system grows, there's going to be more and more of that, and has already happened. So it is a structural issue, and it needs to be addressed. And if it's a percentage of, like I say, system equity or the parkland dedication fee, I acknowledge that there's an issue here, but agree with Vice President Musich. Here at the last minute, it's unfortunate that we don't have enough information to be able to address the issue.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. I think that's a great statement for me to describe the two other funding sources if you feel like you don't have enough information. I will also clarify that I do not believe we can use parkland dedication fees only for new amenities in parks. We would not be able to use those for staffing. So it would only be for, obviously, our system equity investment. So the two options that, I feel like this is a big reveal. It's not a big reveal. I wish it were easier. The one is to still use the 3 full-time park keepers, but not cut, hold them vacant for 1 year, so that we can start this process of hiring. We still would have 3 positions able to fill, 3 held vacant until we hire for 2026 and put them back fully on in 2027. We've had difficulty filling those positions, and staff can speak to that. So they would not be cut, but they would be held for 1 year. Same option for the O&M lottery proceeds. That stays the same. Hold vacant instead of cut the full-time 3 park keeper positions. That is one option. The second option, same 103 from lottery proceeds, and the other amount, 212 from the land acquisition fund. Currently, we have $458,000 in the land acquisition fund, enough to cover our current commitments. So that does not touch staff at all or hold any positions. So those are the 2 options that we would have available. These were both options that staff brought forward. The issue with waiting until 2027 and 2028 to hire these officers has been clearly detailed by Chief Ohato in previous meetings. It takes about a year to hire and train an officer. We will need to be on board with all of these events, 54 events, in 2027. So if we do not hire at least 1 officer, maybe we could reduce this to 1 officer, somehow to help stopgap so that we're ready for that Upper Harbor, that North Minneapolis is ready for this influx that's going to happen in our system, so that we don't have to move to overtime. So that's my thinking around that, of the immediacy of 2026. And I do not think that was immediately clear around Upper Harbor, but that's could have been me. So anyway, a few more comments. Commissioner Rucker. Oh, Secretary Ringgold.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. I do just want to make sure, because there's been a lot of different points here. Our system equity projections, because we put those out over 5 years, includes an officer in 2027 and an officer in 2028. We front-loaded in this count, and in 2026, the staffing we would need to maintain it and to program those spaces. So the 1.1 million that we're getting in system equity investment in 2026 goes primarily to asset management from a maintenance standpoint and visitor services from a programming standpoint.
Why don't y'all just ask the Poland family for some money?
Commissioner Rucker.
Yeah, for me, your first option, first and foremost, I'm a first responder as well, Minneapolis firefighter, so I know the stress that, with low numbers, but we are about to be flush at 35 for the police department, park police. But with that being said, I don't want to, with the park keeper trainee position needs to stay the same. What we need to do with the park keeper trainer is fill them so people can get trained in, to be a full-fledged 363 member. So with that being said, I can't support, your first option. I just need more time on your second option, because this is short turnaround, with the information. But for me, keep the 6. Looking back on the LOA, letter of agreement, there actually was 10 positions. And they were supposed to get, hired through the Urban League. So with that being said, it's people that look like me that would be getting hired, and then we'll be cutting those positions, and then they can't be hired. Now we're stuck with 3. I need the whole 6, and hopefully we can fill those positions. So with that being said, I can't be supportive of this.
President Abeni.
Yeah, that was some good commentary, and I would agree. I think that what I'm hearing is that what I would prefer to do is that the next board takes this up, and it sounds like the staff is going to come forward proposing for an additional FTE in the police department in '27. Yep, and that the new board would support that, because I think that the other thing maybe we can do in the new year is really talk about the impacts, really even on revenue, I think, to having being understaffed in the police force, because it limits, I think it's a limiting factor often on events. We could have more events or more permanent events in the park system if we could support them. I think we have the facilities, the land, the park area for the events. It's just the personnel to manage those events, and police are required. And as I understand from talking to the chief over this period of years, that the events hosts always want even more police on, in their events. So I would hope that the next board will take this up and take it up seriously. I think as Commissioner Turner was talking about the growth of the system, I think this board, the organization, the board's done a good job advocating for growing the operations staff and staffing positions and the needs, getting that recognized as the system grows. It's smart that our system grows as our city's population grows and our land use changes. That's all very good, but this is a gap, as Commissioner Forney said, and I think we need to be sensible and plug it, and really just do this in the next year.
Commissioner Menz.
Thank you. I guess I think that this amendment, although creative, and I do think that we have heard from the chief the need for policing and a more robust force because of all the work out there creating community safety. I really think that I'm hoping, and I think that the next board will be able to see that community policing and, increasing or expanding our services through our community violence connections programs are going to have a wide benefit as well. And we can't think in isolation that if we hire 2 new police officers, we're making our parks safer. That's not necessarily true. I think that the relationships that we have with the community and the relationships that we have of those, and I think the community, if there's one thing that they did say about policing, is that we want those bridge forces, those people who are, acting to prevent the need for a police officer. And we have an opportunity here at the Park Board to do that. We have a great program. We have consistently reduced funding in that program, or at least once or twice. And I think that maybe, not that Chief Ojado and the staff don't need a couple more police officers, I understand that, with the expansion of service, the expansion of area. But we can't think of that in isolation and not consider our community violence connections, the Street Reach program, which is also very, very strapped to respond to community or be able to prevent incidents where that would allow us to be safer. So I hope the next board will expand those services if they're also going to expand or possibly add police officers.
Okay. I think I have heard that there's not a big appetite to move this forward right now. I still would like to take a vote on this, and I would like to replace the, take a motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of adding the land acquisition fund model into the funding of this amendment. This would be something that would be supplemented with the system equity investment coming in the years, but it would also allow the chief to begin the hiring process of at least 1 to 2 people to be ready for the 2027 opening. Is there a willingness to suspend the rules?
I'll second your motion to suspend the rules.
Okay. Rules are suspended in order to add,
You need to take a point of order. You must take a vote on that.
yes,
It requires a 2/3 majority.
yes, sorry about that. All those in favor of suspending the rules?
It requires
Please-
a roll call vote.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Abeni,
Aye.
Commissioner Elper,
No.
Commissioner Forney,
No.
Commissioner Menz,
No.
Commissioner Olson,
No.
Commissioner Rucker,
No.
Commissioner Turner,
No.
Vice Chair Musich,
No.
Chair Schaefer.
Aye.
You have 2 ayes, 7 nays.
Thank you guys for your consideration. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I really want Chief O'Hara to know that, and the board to know, that I will be watching this from the city council. This will be a high priority for me in my work going forward, and I will be watching for this in the system equity investment. And I'm really excited about that, and I think it's very needed for North Minneapolis and for Upper Harbor and for the health of the police officers who are experiencing in their job continued pressures on their job load with this 44% increase in incidences. So thank you for your consideration to this board, and I will withdraw my amendment. And at that point, let's pull back to my, my screen went dark, so give me a second here. Are we at the end of the amendment?
To Resolution
I'm sorry.
2025-271
that one?
as amended. We need to take a vote on it.
I'm sorry, yes. All those in favor of the 2026 Park and Recreation Board budget as amended, and let me remind you what has been added. The park staff amendment, the Commissioner Forney amendment, Commissioner Elper amendment, and Commissioner Menz will be considering bringing back 2 of the ones that he pulled this evening with some possible additional detail that we can anticipate. With all of those mentioned amendments attached to this board budget, all those in favor of approving this budget, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. That motion carries. May someone please move the next resolution?
I'll move Resolution 2025-270. It's a resolution requesting the Board of Estimate and Taxation to incur indebtedness and issue and sell City of Minneapolis bonds in the amount of $1,200,000, the proceeds of which are to be used for the disease tree removal program.
Thank you. Is there any questions or concerns on this item? All those in favor of Resolution 2025-270, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
I'll move Resolution 2025-267. This is a resolution requesting the Board of Estimate and Taxation to incur indebtedness and issue and sell City of Minneapolis bonds in the amount of $3,115,000 for certain purposes other than the purchase of public utilities.
Is there any question on this item? All those in favor of Resolution 2025-267, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries, and I will close the Admin and Finance Committee meeting.
I'll just remind everyone that on December 9th, the public hearing starts at 6:05. If you'd like to be in the room, it's a very small room with very limited seating, so I would suggest that you arrive as early as possible. Maybe we can have some staff seat warmers holding some spots. Otherwise, you can go to City Hall, room 1A. We will have that room open and available, and you would be able to watch the public hearing via the YouTube channel. Thank you.
All right.
It's ridiculous.